This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And today we are talking about the MVP race and other award races. We have probably the hotly contested Giannis Antetokounmpo versus James Harden debate that we'll be having. We'll also talk about the Rookie of the Year, Six-Man, Most Improved, Coach of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year awards as well. We'll give our predictions since we are only 2 weeks away from the end of the season. Then we'll be jumping into some draft talk. We got the Dallas Mavericks. What if they keep their pick at 5 or in the top 5? And then we'll also be talking about our favorite prospect, apparently, coming out of the past 2 weeks from the mock draft 4.0 and the mailbag, Bol Bol. We'll talk about his best fits as he just recently declared for the NBA draft. I'll try to take my opinion out of it because clearly you guys think I'm hating too hard.
Against this man.
A vendetta.
I wish the best for all of these prospects. I don't like Nasir Little as a prospect. I wish him the best. I hope he becomes Kawhi Leonard. I hope the best for Cam Reddish. I hope he becomes Paul George. I hope Bol Bol becomes the 35 and 15 and 3 player that someone said in the comments. Like, come on. I have too much of an opinion in there, but Bol Bol is going to be the first player to average 35 points who's above like 6'8" or something like that. That's not Will Chamberlain. But yeah, we'll be talking about that, and then we'll also be doing Wet Boys. But before we jump into all that, we are getting close to the month of April, so that means we are going to be posting our new Patreon rewards. So if you do want to become a patron, you want to check those out, April 2nd, we'll be dropping those. We will have a bronze, silver, and gold tier, a lot of new fun stuff coming in, and a lot of old stuff staying. Things that we knew worked and things that we don't want to get rid of for the people who have contributed so far. We don't want to change up too much, but we're adding only good things is what I know so far, and I think that you guys are going to like it too. So check it out at patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Anything before we jump into the Giannis or James Harden thing? I don't know. I felt like I might have cut somebody off.
No, I was just
good.
looking at stuff.
Let's do it. All right. We're going to jump into the MVP races. Let's give our preseason predictions first before we give our actual, let's get into the actual talk. If you missed this, we gave our predictions early in the season, right before the season. Yeah. And pretty much all of us had the Warriors over the Celtics in the NBA Finals, which probably won't happen. But we at least have the award predictions. We'll go through MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Six-Man, Coach of the Year, and Most Improved Player. Ricky, you got that pulled up?
Yes, I do.
Technically, I had the 76ers.
You said Warriors over East, though. Oh, yeah, technically you did, because it's 76ers over Celtics. So we'll see about that. But none of us had the Raptors or Bucks.
Correct.
But
Did
Ricky,
not see that coming.
give us your rundown of your preseason predictions for the MVPs, the Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year.
I had MVP LeBron James. Didn't expect him to be, or as Poppy calls him on highly questionable, LeGroin James, because he injured his groin.
Well, and your thing, too, was you thought that the Lakers were going to make it to the Western Conference Finals.
I thought it was going to be LeBron. I didn't know he was old and can get injured now.
Oh, my God.
Defensive Player of the Year, I had Kawhi. Rookie of the Year, I had Trae Young, or as I call him, Trey. Six-Man of the Year, Rajon Rondo. Thought that Laker team, I came in with so much hype. Coach of the Year, Brad Stevens. Seeming like that might be a little bit of a take that would have been hot if you didn't know what happened last year. And then MIP, the one I'm probably most right about, is Levine Cuisine, Zach LaVine.
I don't know about Most Improved Player for Levine, just because his team isn't good.
He's in the running.
If the Bulls, I think he's probably not going to win it, just because
your team does not need to be good for Most Improved.
Yeah, but I think it's more of a thing where he's just finally healthy. Like, this isn't anything too crazy. Like, this is just kind of a natural progression for him. I mean, looking at his first stats, because he did average 20 when he was with the Timberwolves, so it's not like crazy. Like, he had some crazy games, some crazy moments, but also it's like you're getting a ton of usage and you're scoring a ton because you're really the only guy who was capable to score on that team for a while before Otto Porter was there, before Markkanen was healthy.
And he would be the second Bull to win it since Jimmy Butler in 2014, 2015.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's had better statistics. Like, he had, back in 2016, 2017, he had 19 points per game on 45-38 shooting, and this year he's on 46.7 shooting, 37.4% from three, and on 23.7 scoring. So it's kind of a natural jump. So I don't know about that, but we'll get into that. I don't want to get into that discussion too much. But Dave, give us your your preseason predictions.
Sure. My preseason predictions for MVP, I had Giannis looking not too terrible right now.
It's the best one out of all of us.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting. Defensive player of the year, I had Rudy Gobert. Rookie of the year, I tried not to curse Luka Doncic, so I gave it to DeAndre Ayton.
Good save.
Still solid player though. Like underrated.
He has some of the best shooting percentages for
incredible
for a big
man offensive.
Yeah,
Sixth man of the year, Eric Gordon, did not pan out so well. He is hurt though. Coach of the year, D'Antoni, because of course the Rockets. And most improved player is gonna hurt, Markelle Fultz.
Yeah. Not only is he hurt, he's also probably bad at basketball.
I wouldn't go that far yet.
You know what?
I'm not 100% done on that man.
I hope he's not, for his sake. I mean, again, I'm wishing the best for him, but like. We're not going to see him this year for sure, but we'll see. We'll see what happens next year when he's with the Magic. But that was 76er Markelle Fultz. So
that's true.
Maybe the Magic's a different monster. Maybe he's an MVP.
Now he really just needs to get traded from the Magic. Then we'll see the real Markelle.
Now going to my preseason predictions. You're going to piss off Magic fans with that one.
Prove me wrong.
My preseason prediction for MVP was Anthony Davis. Defensive player of the year was Ben Simmons. He was really good in his first year. Not so much this year.
Yeah.
He's fine, but he's not great. Rookie of the year, Luka Doncic. Sixth man, Isaiah Thomas. He's hurt and bad at basketball. Coach of the year, also Brad Stevens. I thought that the Celtics were going to be the number one seed in the East, and clearly they are not. And most improved player was Brandon Ingram, who had his moments.
I was right there with you, drinking that Kool-Aid.
Yeah, but obviously had his injury to end his season about a couple weeks ago. And then also
point guard BI is a monster though.
I thought being next to LeBron was going to help him, and it did.
Yeah.
Kind of, late in the season before he got injured.
If you take away Rondo and Lonzo Ball, then yes, I think that's where the fit was.
Yeah, he had his moments. Yeah. But let's now talk about the awards now and how they are. We'll talk where Dave was right with Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Dave was right.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
It's so good. It's so good, Colin.
And James Harden. A lot of people still feel it's Giannis, but I think all three of us feel like it's James Harden. So let's kind of make this debate happen. I think the debate is easy for Giannis. He has historic stats. I mean, obviously we want to talk about the 36 points per game that James Harden is averaging.
Which is laughable.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, I mean, Giannis is the only player, I think, in history to average 27.4 points per game, 12.5, and 6 assists.
I mean, minus like Wilt.
Well, I don't think Wilt had the assist numbers.
Oh, you're right.
So, and not only is he doing that, he's also on the best team in the East, at least record-wise, and that usually does help. So, at least for that, and he's been a monster, without a doubt. Giannis has been a freak, and it's been aptly named. I just feel that looking at James Harden and looking what he's done throughout the season, averaging 36 points per game, but also what he's done for the team, pretty much since December 11th, him turning this whole thing up where he's averaging 38.9 points per game since December 11th. That is kind of what shows you're an MVP, because through the first 23 games, they were in 14th place in the Western Conference, and now they're sitting at 4th. And that's largely due to James Harden's performance. If you didn't have James Harden on this team, they might not be a playoff team.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
The thing with Giannis is he's fantastic. He's incredible. I do not want to take that away from him. He is definitely number 2 in my mind. If I was voting, I'd do James Harden, I'd do Giannis, and then I'd do Nikola Jokic. That was also... Jokic might be a little bit iffy. He's definitely top 5.
You just want to be right.
But I do want to be right.
That was one of your bold calls, and you are not far off, sir.
I said that they were going to be top 3. One of the best
teams in the West.
Top 2 right now. So that was one of the things I did get right. But yeah, I think that Giannis, if you did take him off the team, they wouldn't be a title contender, but they would be a playoff team still. Because Budenholzer clearly has shown that this team can run without Giannis when he's been injured, but also his on-off the court splits. I mean, like, they're much better with him on the court, but also this team is still really good when he's off the court. They go from a 116 offensive rating to a 110 offensive rating. That's still really good. Their defensive rating goes from a 104 to a 106. Like, that's still plenty enough to be like the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. So my biggest thing, I think, that we're kind of relying on James Harden is, yes, he's having a historical season, so is Giannis, but if you took him off the team, where would they be? And that's the biggest argument for James Harden. I think probably the most important one.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, that was a team that was so depleted, the Rockets, with injuries throughout the year, between Chris Paul being down, then you had Clint Capella missing games. You've had, basically, I think they've had a solid rotation of G Leaguers coming up on 10-day contracts and then short-term deals. Like, it's next man up mentality, the only constant is James Harden's going to go out there and get you points, and he's going to get you so many points. And you look at those, and people want to be like, oh, it's just empty stats. Like, no, it's literally the opposite of empty stats because he put that team on his back. And yeah, at times it seems excessive, but when you look around on that court, it's like, this is the offense that was built around him, and they molded it perfectly. It adjusted. As Chris Paul came back, you just saw it continue to get better and better because, even though James Harden doesn't need to put up 50 a night, he's still putting up 30 plus a night, and he's doing that consistently. And now, as all the pieces start to come in place, that is a team that's just, it's so rock solid. And I don't think, like Sean said, without him there, like they're out of the playoffs completely.
Well, and since he's done this, since in the past 50 games, where since December 11th or whatever it was, they're 36-14. So clearly, him averaging these points, taking over these games, has helped the team. It's not empty stats that are winning games.
Well, it's the debate we have every single year. It's the one guy who is doing is it the MVP or is it the best player? Because
I think
in my mind, if you're giving it to the best player, Giannis is the better player than James Harden. If you're giving it to the most valuable player,
do you mean this year
or James Harden? Well, this year it's just a 1-year award.
Okay.
Giannis is the better player.
What
James Harden is the more valuable to his team.
What about his season is showing you that he's a better player?
I just with me, not to quote John, who's one of our patrons, but it's just the eye test out there. Like for me, overall, Giannis is the better player, does more things than James Harden. James Harden to me is just and the stat pattern thing comes in because he scores very well, and he's been a scorer his entire career. But the thing I find interesting with this, I would also say James Harden has been more valuable this year to the Rockets. That's why I would give it to James Harden, although I would love to give it to Giannis.
Yeah.
But the thing I find interesting is ever since the 08-09 season, so LeBron won it 4 times in that span. D-Rose, Durant, Steph Curry, Westbrook, and then Harden. Only 3 times has that team not been a 1 seed in the playoffs at the end of the year. The Russ year, because he
obviously
fucking triple-doubles mattered that
By the
year.
way, third year in a row, he's going to average a triple-double. Just tossing that out there for people.
And he's not even in the MVP talk now.
That's just normal.
It was cool. It was cool at the time, and now it's happened.
Totally.
You had then
but he's not even the best player on his team.
The year
like Paul George is going to be a top 5 MVP candidate.
Yeah,
he's probably top 3 for most people.
The year Kevin Durant won it, the Thunder were a 2nd seed, 3 games behind the Spurs. And then the 1 year LeBron won it in Miami, they were 4 games behind the Bulls, but the Bulls were really good that year before Derrick Rose busted his knees against Philly in the playoffs. But every other time, it has been a team that is a 1 seed. So to me, that's the question for this. And another thing of what hurt Russ before with the triple-doubles, James Harden won the award last year. Our voters going to be like, yeah, that's cool and all, but we're going to give it to this guy.
What I was debating at the beginning of the season, why I didn't pick James Harden, was because of the fact that a large reason why he won the MVP last year was because he took down the Warriors. And he's not going to be able to take down the Warriors again because you're the defending number 1 seed. So you're going to need to do something spectacular to win it. And I truly think he's done that. This team, the Houston Rockets, has gotten much worse from last year, at least talent-wise, and he's been able to make that difference up. And yes, they're not the number 1 seed, but if you look at their past 50 games and what he's been able to do when he's turned it on, they've been 36-14, and they've risen from 14th in the Western Conference all the way up to 4th. So that is giving them a first-round matchup at home if it stays that way. So I look at that, and I think that's just something that is really eye-popping, really spectacular. It's truly memorable where, again, Giannis has been a freak of nature. Giannis has been crazy. He's had his 50-point game as well against the Sixers.
One 50-point game.
I know, but that was something where you're going up against a playoff team, and he just came out and produced.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
He's not the same scorer and doesn't have the same usage as James Harden.
But another thing with Giannis that you can play into it that's a positive for him is last year, this team, 7th seed in the playoffs, gets knocked out by Boston.
Yeah.
We're not even preseason, not even talking about the Bucks. It's can the Sixers do it? Can the Celtics do it? Kawhi now with the Raptors, are they going to be able to do it? Nobody was looking at the Bucks.
Yeah, we knew Bud was a good coach, but we didn't realize how much he would change this team.
And to help that argument, too, I mean, you look at our preseason predictions on this. Yeah, Dave had him at 7, I had him at 6, Ricky had him at 6. Evan, you look at the Rockets, we all had them at 2. So we all thought that they were going to be a top team, and now just the way the season played out, we're amazed that they're the 4th seed, and then we look at the Bucks, and they've just been good from the get-go.
You know what I feel really good looking at our East playoff standings? If the playoffs were to start today, no, never mind, the Heat, no. Were they? Oh, I'm looking at last year. If the playoffs were to start today, all of us would have the right teams, just different seedings.
I thought the Magic are in here.
The Nets.
Yeah, I don't think we're spot on.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not.
No,
so the Wizards
we don't have the Nets. No, that's right.
We don't have the Nets.
That's right. That's right. My bad. So one team.
Stay hot, kid. And yeah, obviously we're all taking out 2 because Dave has the Lakers in Memphis. I have the Lakers
Well, I
and
was
Pelicans.
just looking at the East.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying in general too. And you have the Lakers at 3 and the Pels at 7.
Early season predictions are tough, but yeah, I'd say Bud's contributions to Giannis, like it's what Mike D'Antoni did for James Harden. I feel like it's the exact.
Especially last year.
Well, yeah, it was just having a coach who understands how to utilize and get the most out of you and fit your skills to a system. I think that's what Coach Bud is doing for Giannis. Like he's really in such a short amount of time gotten this team, which is very much the same roster. Like they didn't have a massive turnover. Like
besides like trades for like Nico and stuff like that.
But their starting 5 has mainly stayed the same. It's still Bledsoe. It's still Middleton. It's still
and don't
Giannis.
Forget,
I think the biggest thing is just gonna be Brook Lopez.
Don't forget White Dante out there too.
White Dante.
He just got injured though.
I know.
Yeah. But I agree. Like Brook Lopez was a game changer for their spacing. He's been huge, but I think that's the reason I'm like I want to put Giannis there, but I also think that it's like I'm giving my credit, to Bud basically out of this. Like Giannis is an amazing player. I think he's probably like I would say James Harden's going to win because the 36 is just a stupid number. Like, is that superficial of me? Yes, but that's just where it's at. Like his
or is it like a Russ thing
insane.
where it's like, that's cool, but we saw you ball out last year. Even though this year, stat-wise, he's better than last year.
He's playing better than he was last year, and with less help. Like losing Trevor Reeves and Luke Mabute was huge for them, and they still went forward. PJ's been great for them. They've put in, like you said, next man up. Freaking Austin Rivers, basically got waived from 2 teams. It's just like, come on, man. It's just they're able to make it work. And I think that's all credit to James Harden at this point because team on his back. Is he going to have anything off for the playoffs? Don't fucking know yet. But the point is, regular season, it's hard to deny him the MVP.
So if you had to sell me in pretty much one word for both players, who would it be? Evan, give me how close it is in your mind and who's your winner.
Oh, if I can do one word, that's tough.
Or not one word, but like one sentence. Like if you had to just pitch to me quick, like elevator pitch, like what's the reason James Harden's winning the MVP in your mind?
James Harden scores more than anyone else in the NBA. Like that's it. He is the best.
Is that enough though?
He's the best scorer in the NBA.
I mean, but you look at Milwaukee; they have a better record.
They do.
So it doesn't mean that much. I mean, I don't know if that's the best.
But
thing you would say.
Giannis has a better supporting staff, a better.
Yeah,
but to sell him, I'm just saying, like to sell him.
Here's what I would.
It's an individual
I don't know
achievement,
if I'm buying,
and he is the better individual player.
Here's how
James Harden on an island versus Giannis on an island.
But that's not what the award is.
One-on-one.
The award is not
one-on-one. I'm just saying, like individual. Like, what can they do?
I was just picturing them fighting on an island.
How I would sell each is for James Harden, it would be never been done, and then for Milwaukee and for Giannis, it would be exceeding expectations. Where
never been done.
What we have seen from him, the 30-point game streak and this kind of a play, like I haven't seen this type of a player in a very long time. Whereas Giannis, it was we had him 7-6. And they're now at the top of the East. He's exceeding the expectation. So whichever side you fall on, but also it comes back down to the debate I said.
Yeah.
The best player or the most valuable player.
Well, to even help that too, I mean, they're not even the best in the East; they're the best in the just league.
Yeah.
And 4 games above the Raptors.
Hey, on top of the Warriors.
I think those are good. I think those are good selling points. Though.
Yeah, I saw like a crazy stat right this morning. It was like the Bucks have won equal games this year by double digits than they won in total last year.
That's
like
crazy.
when you blow out that many teams, I think it's 44. Like that's an insane number.
And their differential is 9.5. So I mean, they're almost averaging just 10 more points a game.
It's absolutely incredible. But I think that's team basketball. Yes, Giannis is the catalyst that drives that team, but I think that's just they've been up until basically 2 weeks ago. They were the healthiest team in the NBA for the entire season. Everything went their way. They have a fantastic coach who we're probably going to talk about later for Coach of the Year. I think that James Harden's done more with less.
Yeah,
and he's done it in a harder conference.
You look at their starting five before things went south. Brook Lopez started 76 games, Bledsoe 74, Chris Mid 73, Giannis pretty much 70, and then Brogdon 64. I mean, they've been extremely healthy. Where if you look at the Rockets, and I know this is kind of just with the system. Yeah. They're not really like I pretty much just throw out the same starting five every night. But you look at it, Harden and PJ Tucker are the only players to start over 70 games. Yeah. Tucker 76, Harden 72, Capella 61, Chris Paul 52, Eric Gordon 47, James Ennis 25. He's not even a team anymore. Kenneth Faried 13. He was just recently signed. Rivers signed midseason 13. Daniel House 13, who was in the D League. Yeah. Melo started 2 games for him. Shumpert started 1 game.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like. Gerald Green was one of their big contributors. Mm-hmm. A year ago off the couch, and then they go ahead and they do it again with Kenneth Faried, guy who couldn't earn a fucking minute for the Nets, and it's just like, and you're now on our team and starting. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Dude,
it's just insane.
I just played that first dunk he had, and like the joy on his face of like I'm actually playing basketball again. So happy.
I don't know what was better. What do you which one was better for you? Because I'm still leaning on the Green side. Like Green or Faried, which
Green
mid-season pickup?
Literally coming off the couch.
And just dropping threes like crazy. Yep. Both of them were amazing, but yeah.
And then just to throw this out there for advanced stat stuff, the leader this year in win shares per 48 is Giannis Antetokounmpo at pretty much 29.2. So at least...
How far behind is...
Analytics. It's James Harden. James Harden win shares per 48. Let me find it. Because Basketball Reference only gives you 1 year or one player for a year, which is stupid. Great site. Besides that, 24.3.
So that's a noticeable difference.
Yeah, it's a big gap at least per.
But 48. You know what else is a big gap? Mm-hmm. The difference between James Harden and the number 2 scorer in the league. It's equal to the number 2 to like the number 36.
Also, box plus minus.
You're talking like points per game.
Yeah,
the 36.2 to 28.2.
And then you take that difference and from 28.2 down to. Whatever, like, it's a stupid number.
James Harden also does lead in BPM, box plus minus, and then VORP.
And not surprising at all.
It's shockingly, he is also the leader in offensive win shares. But that's one thing too that Giannis has over him is he's a better defensive player. And that's not even it's not even
incredible,
close.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about the offensive gap between James Harden and Giannis,
there is a defensive gap, but
there's a huge defensive gap where
people
I think
don't pay much attention to the defense.
Well, we will.
And
I
Jabari
think
Parker gonna say what?
We all think that James Harden's the MVP, right?
Yeah. As much as
how do you feel?
So I have to vote James Harden. I want to vote Giannis. I have to vote James Harden just because.
Why do you have to?
How I've seen the award. I have been the stan of, you know what? It is the most valuable player. Yep. And I have every year, you've asked me the question, Ricky, who's your MVP? And it always was LeBron James because he's the most valuable to Cleveland. Well, my point was proven. Cleveland is now garbage without LeBron James.
So is Los Angeles with them.
Didn't they win about the same amount of games this year, last year?
A little bit. But I've always been that kind of a person, so I have to keep true with myself, and I don't want to go different. I have to give it to James Harden, although I'd love to give it to Giannis.
All right.
I would give it to Giannis just to be right for my preseason prediction and hold true, but I do believe James Harden deserves it.
I will give you credit because you are a person that would totally just go away from actual stats and just be like, I want to be right, so I'm giving it to Giannis.
100%.
So I think the fact that you're saying that truly means
like Sean putting Jokic in the top 3, although it could be, you could argue it.
I mean, but James Harden's been in the top 3 for MVP for years now. I think it's a sustained, incredible level of success.
Real quick, I am just looking at the voting. Russ, when he did win it, was a much better player. Like that triple-double was much better than any of the other ones. He was averaging 31. He was actually efficient from 3. He shooting like 34% from 3.
He also had the triple-double streak.
Like 84% from the line, too. So, I mean, he's been phenomenal. He was phenomenal that year. So it's not like, there's other reasons why. It's not just the triple-double he got it. He was one of the craziest triple-doubles we've seen. But yeah, clearly Harden finished number 1 last year. Giannis was 6. Giannis finished tied for 7th in 2016-2017. Harden was 2nd. Then Harden was 9th.
Oh, wow.
In 2015-2016.
I feel like he was a whole lot closer in my mind there.
Harden then was 2nd in 2014-2015. So there was a drop-off between those years. And then 2013-2014, he was 5th.
Basically, since he's been on the Rockets, he's been in the top 10 for MVP voting and consistently up at the top 5.
All right.
It's pretty awesome. Awesome.
Let's move now to Defensive Player of the Year. Clearly, it's not going to be Ben Simmons. It might, though, be Kawhi Leonard, and it probably will be Rudy Gobert. Anyone have any other candidates that stick out to you that should be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year? I think one big one is...
No, you're just wrong.
For blocking all those shots.
I mean, yes, he blocks shots, but he also hits players as many times.
No, I know.
Yeah, he just like pretty much it's his blocks to personal foul ratio is like equal.
It's horrible.
I think the big one, we'll just start with Gobert then, because since he is the defender. Rudy Gobert obviously has been defending his throne well. Obviously, Defensive Player of the Year. Same amount of blocks last year, 2.3 to 2.3. Nearly the same defensive rating, 99 last year to 100 this year. He also has improved his offensive rating as well. I have no idea still why. He was not an All-Star, 122 to 133. And a big thing, too, defensive win shares, 3.9 last year being the Defensive Player of the Year, and now all the way up to 5.3. So he's been defending his throne extremely well. So I think that he clearly needs to be in the top 3, definitely in the discussion. But who else out there should be in this discussion for Defensive Player of the Year?
Giannis.
You're putting him right up
If he doesn't get MVP, I'd definitely give him Defensive Player of the Year. He ranks, first in...
Hold on, you can't give him sympathy.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
No, but...
That's not how any of this works.
You probably should have won MVP, so we're going to give you Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but it's not like he doesn't back it up. He's been a very good defensive player this year. In my mind...
But is the award the very good Defensive Player of the Year award?
No, it's the best defensive player. And in my mind, it's either you're giving it to Rudy Gobert or you're giving it to Giannis. And I would go Giannis.
Really?
Yeah. I would not go Giannis. I know Giannis, his impact, it changes the way teams offensively work around him because he's just... The wingspan's incredible. He can guard 1 through 5. I don't get me wrong. He's definitely a fantastic defensive player, but I think that the players that stand out to me, obviously Paul George made his mark early in the year, but I think he has fallen off as of late. The team has been struggling a whole lot more on defense. I think in general the Thunder have been struggling. So I think his case has kind of fallen off. The other guy that I love hearing is obviously Joel Embiid. Shout out to Jake. But he's just... Everything that he does is... It seems like it's more impactful, but at the same time, Gobert's just better at defense than him. Joel Embiid's an incredible rim protector. Don't get me wrong. It's just the fact that when he does it, there's attitude to it. There's style. There's something. He adds the panache to his actions, and that's why he ends up on SportsCenter all the time. Rudy Gobert doesn't even get an All-Star vote, or doesn't get voted into the All-Star game. Can't make that. You saw the Thierry, interview about that, and it's the dude's just a straight up monster on defense all year. Super quiet. He plays in Utah, so he gets no media coverage. This is the one thing. It's you just can't give it to anyone else in my mind because no, he's been the best defensive player in the year. He's still the best defensive player in the NBA.
I honestly think that Paul George really hasn't fallen off as much as you said. I think the biggest thing that you have to look at with him is night in, night out, he's going up against the best player on the other team. He's trying to lock them up. And he's still, I think he's top 20 in both steals and blocks. He is, I think, near a 103 defensive rating. And a big thing, too, is you look at how good that team is defensively. So it's going to be tough to be, it's going to be tough to have a crazy on-off. But if you look at the top 30 of on-off defensive ratings, Paul George is 27th. So the fact that he's doing that and still has a negative differential where at least defensive rating for the team with him and without him clearly shows that he's just doing just elite stuff on the defensive end. And I think when you're doing that every single night and then you're also the number one scorer on your team, it's tough to keep that up for 82 games. And a big thing that he has been is healthy this year. And I think that Paul George clearly does have a strong case. So if we're laying out the field, I think you want to throw in Giannis. We're obviously leaving Rudy Gobert in there because he hasn't fallen off. Joel Embiid is up there. I think Paul George is up there, and let's throw Kawhi Leonard in. Any other guys?
I guess the argument against Kawhi Leonard is, do you discount him because of the missed games, the healthy DNPs?
Yeah,
that's. I think a lot of people.
He wasn't injured.
I think a lot of people are salty about the rest he's taking, and it's his right to take those days. He's obviously worked with the Raptors and discussed hey, for me to feel okay and 100% going into every game, That's what matters to me most.
Plus, they're like, hey, we'd rather have you rested for the playoffs when it matters.
We also want to keep you happy because you're going to be a free agent.
I say, like, whatever you say, Kawhi, as long as you sign on the dotted line when it comes time. Like, that's all that matters. So
I think
a lot of people discount him and be like, you know what? Yes, you've been amazing defensively, but guess what? So is Danny Green. Like, Danny Green's, like, I think just been insane for that team as the throw-in contract. A lot of people joked about after that deal was decided, but I don't think Kawhi's played in enough games to make it count for me. Like, everybody else is doing it every night in and out. Like you said, Paul George going up against the best wings in the NBA every night in the West. So
would you put him in the field?
I would put him in the top 10, but he would be outside of my top 5.
Is there someone that you would put? Who would you be putting in the top 5 over him? So, like, we have Embiid, we have Gobert, we have Paul George. If you want to put Giannis in there, you want to put Giannis. Give me just one other name. I think Miles Turner's been, really great at protecting the rim. He's been good on off as well. But that team is really great defensively as well. I think Ben Simmons, I was joking that, clearly he's gotten worse. But he does affect a lot of shots. He's not getting the statistical numbers, and his defensive rating isn't great. But he's still not like a trash defender by any means. He was extremely great last year.
Yeah,
and he's just kind of regressed to being good, which is still great.
Yeah.
A lot of confusing words in there. He's not good, but still great.
He's not amazing, but he's still good.
Yeah.
He's still very good. Anthony Davis would have been there if he played more games. Like, I think him and Kawhi are on the same tier for me.
Okay.
Like, it's just, I think there's the top 4, and I don't think anybody else is like, there's a step down.
All right, where would you just put Draymond on there? Because obviously he's taken a step back, but he's been former Defensive Player of the Year.
I don't know.
But yet again, is this what you've done in the past, or is this what you've done this year?
This year, he's
well, no,
he's
I just
good,
want to know just because what he has done in the past. I just want to know where he is, like, in your guys' mind, just because of what he's done.
I don't
in the
think
past.
I can think of 15.
I'm not saying does he deserve to be there because of what he's in the past. Just where does he stand because of his past? Like, where does LeBron James stand in the MVP voting because he's been where he's been in the past?
I don't think I can think of 15 better defensive players this year than him. So I would say top 15, top 10 would be close. It's just there's a lot of guys, and if we're like I said, if I'm giving guys who had some games off as a discount, but they're still top 10 for sure. I think Draymond, the passion he brings out there. I mean, his defense affects his whole team, and that's the thing that not everybody can do. Like, obviously Gobert, his whole team gets into it because of his blocks. Joel Embiid motivates the entire team when he swats a ball into the third row in the stands. Like, Draymond's defense definitely does it for the Warriors. So there are those intangibles. It's like, yeah, the numbers say this, but the eye test tells me that he's more important because of his defensive efforts. So I feel good about top 15, top 10 range.
All right, so we'll leave Giannis out there. We'll leave Rudy Gobert out there. We'll leave Paul George out there.
Yep.
And then who am I missing?
Joel
Embiid.
Yeah.
So let's make a case for every player. I'll start off with Paul George. I think the fact that you are going up against the best player every single night is absolutely huge. The fact that you have such a drastic on-off differential defensive rating for your team, who's already a great defensive team in the Oklahoma City Thunder, is massive. The fact that he has so many steals, he's the league leader in steals this year. He's great at just popping balls loose. He's great at anticipating. And I think also the fact that he has such a high offensive usage means a ton because he's giving it on both ends. And to be a great defensive player, it's not like he's Andre Roberson out there giving all of his effort just on the defensive end, or Tony Allen giving all of his effort on the defensive end. He's doing it both ways, and I think that just makes it more impressive that he has been this elite defensively. He's also really good at affecting opponent shots. For George, opponents have shot just 44.1% against him when shooting against him compared to it's 1.6 lower than the average. So he's a better defender than the average NBA player. So I think the fact that he's just being able to do it on both ends of the floor, and he does it at such a high level, better than an average NBA player, is huge to me for Paul George. Dave, clearly you've been on the Embiid trade, so defend him there.
On the Embiid trade. He is, I don't know, this is a bad thing. Like, I don't even want to pull stats for him because, like, I don't know that they even line up, but I just know that when I watch him play, he's one of the most dominant shot blockers in the league, and his mobility allows him to go out to the outside and cover guys who are stretch 4s and 5s to keep them honest out there. Just watching him play is basically all you need to see, is just the passion he brings and the ability to just be an absolute brick shithouse down in the low post, because there's not, 2 guys in the league who can bull through him. Like, it's literally like Steven Adams, who is just insanely strong, and then everybody else is a question mark.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen more centers shut down by anybody other than Gobert. It's just Embiid. Think about all the matchups we've seen when it's like Hassan Whiteside, lives in his head. Andre Drummond, absolutely owned by him. It's just the list goes on and on throughout the entire East. And then when you start covering those West games, it's the same thing. It's just he's just been one of the most dominant centers in the NBA. I don't know if it's all defensive, and that's why I'm like, he's an offensive monster still.
To help your stuff, to help your defense, off the floor for opponents shooting in the restricted area, people are shooting 59.2% against Joel in the restricted area when he's on the floor.
That's pretty good.
Off the floor, it goes up to 64.2. So that's a difference of 5. That's just behind Miles Turner, who's when on the floor, it's 59.4%, and that goes up to 65.8%. And even Gobert, you look at Gobert, on the floor, 60% to 59.3%. So there's actually an increase there. But he also does have, Derek Favors helping him out, who's one of the better rim protectors in the league.
Old school for you.
And Gobert's great too, but I think they're also taking much less shots off the floor. So it's going to be naturally inclined or easier to have a higher percentage. But it's 1,200 shots against him when he's on the floor, and 760 when he's off the floor. So I think Embiid does clearly show that. But has he played enough games? He's played 62.
Yeah, he's over the 60 mark, which was the line I drew in the sand in my head.
So it's enough?
It seriously was.
It's enough, though?
It seriously was.
Dave didn't draw that out here. He drew it in his head.
Well, okay, so I think Kawhi had 56 and Anthony Davis had 55. So I was like, well, you got to be more than those two guys. And he is. So I'm counting it.
Kawhi's currently at 55 right now.
Yep.
So back up your guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis, to me, it's like there's a reason why when we were talking MVP, I said he's the best player, is because it's not just offensively, he does it defensively too. And if you want to throw out, because I like what Dave was saying, where it's I don't want to throw out the stats with him.
His defensive rating is disgusting, by the way, though.
Exactly. He's
the
98.7. He's the best.
It's
and
not
that's
even close.
the only stat I would use if I wanted to throw it out there. But it's I watch Giannis play, and I go, wow, this guy is, unless it's and that's why the Joe Giannis game was so good.
It was.
Because they just went after each other, and they're both really good defensively and offensively, to where I just look at it and I go, you could make a strong case for not just Giannis being Defensive Player of the Year, not just being MVP of the year, but being both this year.
Oof.
You could make a case.
Well, that's what I was
for
trying
him
to make for
both.
Anthony Davis at the beginning of the year.
That's true.
He would be the only player. I'm trying to remember this from fucking October, but I think it was Hakeem and might be only just Hakeem. Hakeem and I think it was Jordan, because Jordan was Defensive Player of the Year. So I think the only two players to win both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year were Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Both in the 90s. I think it was 91 for Jordan and then 94
Nope. Jordan
for
was
Hakeem.
in 87, 88.
Winning MVP and Defensive Player of the Year?
Yep. He averaged 35, 5.5, and 6, while also averaging 3.2 steals and 1.6 blocks per game.
Was that a third-year player? Shit.
Let's see. And then the Hakeem one was 93, 94. 27, 12, 3.6, and a whopping 3.7 blocks per game with a 1.6 steals per game.
Mm-hmm. And then one thing to help your honest thing, he does lead the league in defensive win shares, 1.78 compared to Embiid, who's at 1.54, or Paul George, who's at 1.67. This is just win shares, though. It's not averaged out to a certain amount. And Rudy Gobert's 144. But then you could just say JJ Redick's at 148. So big thing is, he's on the floor when Joel Embiid is there.
Yeah.
But you also look at JJ Redick. JJ Redick's not a great defender. I think let's just get into our predictions and then we'll move on. Who's your defensive player of the year?
Giannis.
I'm sticking with Rudy.
You're sticking with Rudy?
Yep.
I'm surprised.
Where Dave was right.
You're backing up Joel.
No.
I'll go Paul George. I think he's been that effective, and I think even if he's not MVP, the fact that he's been probably the best two-way player this year is going to be the reason for me. I think there's a case for Giannis. There's a case for Joel too. There's a case for both
all three of those guys are very close.
I think even Kawhi, when healthy, it definitely has a case as well. Let's move to Rookie of the Year. There's two guys. It's Trae Young, Luka Doncic.
Can we just give them co-Rookie of the Year?
Nope.
Come on. They've both been good.
We'll just give one first half and the other second half.
I think I would be fine if they just came out and said, yeah, we're going to give it to both Trae Young and Luka Doncic. Because they're both
I would not be fine with that. Give me an answer.
I look at the stats and I go, you could justify either way. Either way,
I
justify.
think the biggest thing is both of their teams suck, and literally they're neck and neck. So there's no decider, at least when it comes to wins.
Oh, it's true.
At least per
They've
that.
literally traded away every other starter on the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing too. It's
I don't know how you
But this
that.
isn't most valuable. This is just of the year.
And if we're taking out, and I think
his efficiency goes away when you take away 4 starters from his team. But guess what? He's still putting up stupid numbers.
Here's what we'll do. Ready? So the Mavs will keep losing. They'll get a top 5 pick.
They better.
Trae Young gets Rookie of the Year. No one wins the trade. No one wins.
Trae Young will not win Rookie of the Year. He was an inefficient chucker to start the season. His stats have been amazing since New Year's.
And here's Trae Rookie of the Year. Luka gets a top 5 draft pick. Everyone's
let me put this out there. I still have it as Luka Doncic, and it not only does he just have better advanced stats, he's got a higher win share, he's got a better per. But even outside of that, people are just looking at the after the All-Star break for Trae Young, which is true. He's been phenomenal. I do not want to take that away.
Some players, it takes a while.
He's been fantastic after the All-Star break. Colin Sexton has been as well.
The last month of this year, he's been fire.
But at least the 18 games after the All-Star break for Trae Young, and then the 15 games for Luka Doncic after the All-Star break. Trae Young, 26 points per game, 9 assists, and then pretty much 4.5 boards, shooting 45% from the field, 38 from 3, and then 87 from the line. And Luka, 25.5 points per game, 9 boards, 7 assists, 1 steal, 40% from the field, 25% from 3, and 67.2. So the biggest thing that hurts Luka is his inefficiency from the field, but also, again, he doesn't have starters on his team.
He lost 4 starters.
And he also has...
I will just keep screaming at you.
The biggest thing that we do see from him is the fact that he isn't fully in shape yet. So once it gets to the late end of the games, he's really just hurting out there, and he's been inactive for 3 of the games since the All-Star break. And a huge thing, too, is he's still playing like 38 minutes in some of these games, 36 minutes, 35, 37. So
trying to catch up to those LeBron minutes per game rookie year shit, man.
Yeah, I think Luka has been worse than Trae Young after the All-Star break, but I don't think it's been that drastic if we're just saying, look at the help, and then also look at their makeup. I mean, Luka Doncic is a bigger player. He's going to be going up against more strong and athletic guys, where Trae Young is going to try to avoid contact as much as possible. And he's, clearly, again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Trae Young. I'm trying to build the case for Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic was probably the most elite Rookie of the Year. We were ready to give it to him after 3 months. So the fact that this is close right now is a credit to Trae Young.
Absolutely.
But I still would lean Luka Doncic just from the fact of, his actual overall stats and his effect on the team is much more massive than Trae Young.
Yeah, I think that when it comes down to it, watching Trae Young hit half-court shots on the regular has been hilarious at the NBA level, because every single hater out there was like, there's no way he's going to be able to get away with this shit. Like, when he goes to the NBA, he's going to get his shot blocked so many times.
There was one he doesn't
have it
from
really.
From the logo was like, I'm just going to...
He's got the feet on the back of the logo.
Oh, it went in. Good shot,
like
Good
every
try.
bad shot is a good shot. It literally is a Steph Curry syndrome. Like, it's exactly what it feels like.
And what did I say?
Passing
Player
vision
comp.
has been incredible. The availability of John Collins has helped him out so much. Having that low post presence down there to feed it to, like, he has... I think Atlanta has a super bright future with him there. And I'm back to the, I don't know if anyone won or lost this trade, but I would say the season as a whole, I've been so much more impressed by what Luke has been able to do. He came in as a younger player, just incredible, and he's just lived up to it. Every little bit of the hype that people were talking shit.
Younger player, but's been a pro for
longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing. It was like, this kid's 18 and accomplished more in his life than I have. Like, come on.
That's not that hard.
Well, thanks. Shots fired. But my point is, at the end of the day, it's got to be Luka, because he's just been an incredible contributor to this team.
Here's the thing, too, is the Mavericks are clearly tanking right now.
Yeah.
And they've really gone hard after the All-Star break. Where Atlanta, it was a slow start for Trae Young, and also I think a big thing, too, is just like that team overall is not that good. Outside him and Collins, and then Taurean Prince has been injured.
Yeah.
But you look at it, February 1st, 2019, the Hawks were in 12th place in the East, and the Mavericks were 12th place in the West. Clearly being 12th place in the West is much more impressive, and they were only 4.5 games back of a playoff spot at 23 and 28, where the Hawks were in 12th place, but they were, I hate doing math on the podcast, 8 games back, and they were 16 and 34. So I think Luka, you look at just the impact that he's had on the team and the help that he has around and the help that he's lost, clearly gives the overall structure of Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
But Trae Young has been fantastic.
I give it to Trae Young only because...
Come on.
No,
I was like,
for
I'm
me,
waiting for Ricky to budge on this.
Like, to me, it's, yes, the slow start, you could use it as a negative, but...
It is a negative.
Also,
He shot like ass.
Dave just
He
said...
was horrible.
Like Dave just said, Luka had been a pro longer than Trae Young.
It's not. It's based off one season, Ricky.
I know.
It's based off who is the rookie of the year.
Will you let me fucking talk, man?
You cut me off all the time, too.
So what I'm saying is Luka can come in. He's used to being a pro. There was no barrier there. With
but
Trae
remember,
Young,
he's playing garbage competition. He's playing 38-year-old men smoking packs of cigarettes during the game.
But still, the mentality of being a pro, where Trae Young is coming from college, never had to be a pro. Maybe it took him a little bit to get into the league. But now, ever since the All-Star break, if I look at them both, that's why I just want to give it to both of them. That's why I just want co-rookie of the years, because you can justify either one, and you're right in my mind.
You gotta
I'd give it to Trae Young.
Well, and here, let's look at the first 36 games. Luka was averaging 19.5, 6.5 boards, 5 assists on 43, 37, and 76 shooting. Or Trae Young was averaging 15 points per game, 7.5 assists, 2.9 boards on 39, 27, and 78 shooting. So both guys have had just bad stretches to start the season. So through the first 37 games, Trae Young was not that great. Through the first 36 games, Luka Doncic was fantastic. And then the past 15 games, Luka hasn't been great. And in the past 18 games for Trae Young, he's been phenomenal. So I think it's a tale of two seasons. I think just overall though, you have to give it to Luka Doncic. I just personally can't take in the professional background of that. Because, yes, it was easier for Luka to start, but you still have to perform.
Oh, and I'm not saying, like, that's for sure, like, oh, I'm going to give Trae an easier route from the beginning and give him a little. But it's like, I personally, from what I've seen lately, I'm just throwing a dart at the board. And I like Trae Young better, so I'll give it to Trae. But I would love to give just co-rookie of the years. And they both deserve it.
And we'll see your feelings when we come to Wet Boys. Because you not to spoil anything, but spoiler, Ricky has Trae Young as his Wet Boy.
But he was the first one to give Luka a Wet Boy.
2 Wet Boys. I've given him 2 Wet Boys.
Before Trae got his. But that was because Luka Doncic was so damn good. But let's move now to Sixth Man of the Year. Eric Gordon, Rajon Rondo, and Isaiah Thomas were all of our choices. All of those are wrong.
They were all hurt, too.
Yeah. So who is right now the lead for your Sixth Man?
Lou Will.
Okay.
This is a non-discussion in my mind. Lou Will, his only competition is Trez, who is his teammate, who is not going to win it because Lou Will's just been better.
Ask me in February, I would have said Derrick Rose.
Honestly? Yes. It would have been Derrick Rose for that.
Before he turned into complete ass.
Well, yeah, he got hurt more, which is sort of what he does.
Well, no, but
we know that.
You even look at his 3-point percentage. I think there was a stat where he was 0 of 70 or something.
Yeah, he literally has just.
I would have loved to be able to say D Rose, but it's Lou
He
Will.
went from shooting 46% from 3, and we're like, Derrick Rose took all that time off and learned to shoot, and I was like, oh wait, Derrick Rose just really got lucky to start the season, and now he's like, if I only take 2 a game, how much can I hurt my percentage?
Yeah,
right, guys?
So in the 18 games from January 15th to March 10th, he was 1 of 5, 0 of 3, 0 of 4, 0 of 3, 0 of 1, 0 of 2, 0 of 2, 0 of 1, 0 of 2, 0 of 2, 1 for 3, 0 for 0, 0 for 0, 0 for 2, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 0 for 2, 0 for 0. So yeah, he just fell off the map.
But to end the season, is he shooting above 37% from 3? What's his percentage from 3? Is it 30?
D Rose?
Yeah.
It's .057. It's
on
5% from 3. Oh.
No, I'm saying what's his 3-point percentage for the season?
37.
Yeah. So when everybody turns around and looks at it, it's like, oh, Derrick Rose, we thought he was a terrible shooter, but this is the problem with stats. Like you said, tale of 2 seasons. This man was electric to start the season. He had that it factor. There was something about Derrick Rose and those teams that worked. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, never mind. He regressed to the mean. And maybe not quite all the way down because he's missing the rest of the season.
It's weird too because for Lou Williams, I don't feel like I want to give it to him just because he's won it so much. But it's also he's so important in that team, so it feels like he shouldn't. But also, again, he's not a starter, so that's the whole point of it.
But it's like a gimmick move because he deserves to start. It's just he works so much better with a second unit against second units.
Mm-hmm. And it's weird too because you're always just he had to have a start in there once, and he has literally 0 starting games. And he's not started a single game for the Clippers this year.
It feels kind of gimmicky, kind of like when was it the Marlins who were starting relievers to start games? The Rays did that. Yeah, they're using closers to start games, and it was like, I don't know how to feel about this, but it sort of makes sense in the back of my head.
Funny thing about that, if you look at fantasy baseball, the guy who was their closer that started so many games, everyone's like, oh, I'm going to pick him up because he's got so many wins. Yeah, the only reason he had wins is because he would start the first inning, they'd get a lead, and then he'd get the win because they'd keep it.
No, I mean, it's just... But it's a strategy, and it works for the Clippers. and no one saw them.
That final shot he hit, like, what was that, a week ago?
Yeah.
Like, I can't. Now I'm going to look it up who the Clippers were playing.
Here's the thing. I think let's just give the top 5 because I think everyone's going to have Lou Williams. The top 5 would pretty much be, and this is according to most points, rebounds, and assists per game for all the 6-man candidates. Lou Will is the leader. Domantas Sabonis, Montrezl Harrell, Derrick Rose, and Spencer Dinwiddie, who Derrick Rose obviously been injured. Dinwiddie obviously been injured as well. So I think that takes both of them out. So then it really left to Sabonis, Williams, and Harrell. And
Sabonis was playing, though, this year.
Sabonis has been fantastic, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think overall, you look at just the fact that the Clippers are probably doing more with less.
Oh.
And a lot of that has to do with Williams.
Yeah,
it's not like the Pacers are playing with a ton of talent.
Yeah, as soon as Vic went down.
But they've been still as good.
Well,
so
there's a small bump there. But
the fact that it's only a small bump and not a sharp decline is huge.
I agree with you. I thought the Clippers were giving up and going for the draft pick when they traded Toby. I was like, oh, smart move. Go get that draft pick. Keep building up the team. Instead, they're like, you know what? We're just going to win with a roster of fucking role players. Man, I would hate to face... Like, I get it because it's the West. Everybody's like, they're probably the easiest out in the first round. But I would be terrified to play them in the first round. Are you kidding me? Like, they have been on such a tear. And it's just... Things work. Like, it's just everybody knows their role. And they got different guys who can step up at different times. Gallo has been shooting lights out. Healthy Gallo is disgusting.
And we're probably... if the playoffs started today... Portland Clippers.
Which
they're moving that matchup.
Yeah.
The Clippers are moving on.
Yep.
That's the thing.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to pick the Blazers, but I know
CJ's not fully healthy yet.
Yeah, without Nurkic and CJ fully healthy, the Clippers win that in like 6.
And that game was the
Maybe
one where
5.
they played the Nets, where D'Lo dropped 32, and then Lou Will's like, "Hey, I called game."
Yeah.
All right. So your 6th man of the year is Lou Williams. Let's move to most
locked in.
Let's move to most improved player. A couple of guys out here for sure. Pascal Siakam has to be one of them.
Spicy P.
2 Kings, I think. Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox need to be up there. There's more that I'm forgetting.
Give Ricky the credit for Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine, I'll give that as well. That's a really a big one out there.
Yeah, that was a good call.
And I think the other one, I know I'm missing a big one too.
People have talked about D'Lo progressing, going from a questionable starter on that team where they had so many guards to being an all-star and really finding his own team really at that point. I
think you could also throw one out there with Nikola Vucevic as well.
Vucci May.
Vuce is now a what's it called, an all-star. There's one big one I'm forgetting. So just jump in and give me who you think so far.
I mean, it's tough to look past Pascal Siakam because he has been so good for that Raptor team. And the problem is the whole team is amazing. They're a loaded team top to bottom. We talked about their amazing depth coming into the season. And I joked, I was like, we're being too positive. What if these guys regress? And, we all had OG and Anunoby pegged as he's going to learn under Kawhi Leonard, and this is going to be great. This could be like Danny Granger, Paul George-esque, where it's just there's just might be a handoff in the future. We'll all feel real good about this. Instead, it's no, Pascal Siakam kicked the fucking doors down. And he's like, so guess what, guys? I'm a big who can guard 1 through 5. I can ball handle. I can run the fast break. And I'm freaking unstoppable with the ball in my hand at times. His shot's gotten better. In the games that he's played in without Kawhi Leonard, I think he's putting up 23 points a game and 8 boards and 2 assists. He is legitimately talented. And he's someone who was in the G League a couple years ago. So the man has gone from nothing to everything in such a short amount of time.
The guy I was thinking of was D'Angelo Russell. I don't know why. It just didn't click my head when you said that. But yeah, no, Siakam's been phenomenal. I mean, you didn't expect that. He was a first-round pick, 27th when they drafted him. But he's just taken such a massive leap. So I think really we could put it into categories, and Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer already did for us. And he pretty much has the guys that we've already mentioned. The veteran of Nikola Vucevic, and that past winners are Jalen Rose, Darrell Armstrong. You can look at the good stats, good guy, good team guy, D'Angelo Russell, good CJ McCollum and Jimmy Butler like that. You look at the good stats, bad team guy, Zach LaVine, Kevin Love, and Purvis Ellison are those guys. The sophomore, De'Aaron Fox, Gilbert Arenas, and Monta Ellis won it as sophomores. He threw Paul George in there for the big leap. Giannis won that, and Tracy McGrady won that as well. And then obviously the surprise of Pascal Siakam. Winners were Boris Diaw and Zach Randolph, and he threw an honorable mention to Buddy Hield. So I think those are probably your players. And I think it really just comes down to, are you looking at the biggest surprise, and that's what's most improved, or are you just looking at clearly stats? Hey, Zach LaVine is now a number 1 scorer on his team.
Every single stat, I'm looking at it right now, every single one, and the turnover one is the negative because you want that to go down.
But he was asked basically to be a point guard half the season.
I mean, to me, bias totally in it, but also bias aside, I would give it to Zach LaVine with what he's done.
You had him as a top 10 player.
I know, because he is a top 10 player. But yeah, I'd give it, Zach LaVine is the clear most improved player. D'Lo would be the only one. Like, I would go Zach LaVine, D'Lo, and then doesn't matter who you put at 3 because those are the only 2 that count. Sure, Spicy P.
I mean, like, I love D'Lo, and because that was one of the ones where you and I were going between Brandon Ingram and D'Angelo Russell, as we both had him pegged to take the next step, being 20-point-a-game scores. But like, I don't know, man. I think that Pascal's been so good this year. D'Lo really got lucky with, and I hate saying this, the Karis LeVert injury. Yeah. Like, Karis LeVert went down, that team needed someone, and it was either him or Spence.
And then
Dinwiddie goes down. Yeah. And it's really like, okay, D'Lo, you got to carry this team. And they're now a playoff team in the East, which I know East
look dangerous, but
he really does, like, he's one of the most disgusting shooters in the league.
One guy I think too that also needs to be in contention and maybe just some respect is Blake Griffin. Just overall, he's improved. Like he's become a better ball handler.
He's worked on his 3-point
He's pretty much a point forward. Yeah, he's a good 3-point shooter. Like people are sleeping on Blake because he's playing in Detroit and he's not on SportsCenter every night because of Lob City.
Yeah.
But literally, like, Blake Griffin has become a completely different player. If you ask people 5 years ago what Blake Griffin would be, they probably just think he's that guy that dunks. He's much more than that now. So I think Blake Griffin just deserves a lot of credit for working on his game. If I had to rank him, I'd probably put Siakam, D'Lo, and then I don't buy Paul George just because I knew he could do this.
Yeah.
I just don't.
He's played better, but
he also had a massive injury, and now he's like pretty much fully healthy. Hit 2 years with Russ. That one's not too shocking. I think it just makes sense too because
Buddy Hield though, like that's the one where I would take that De'Aaron. Man has shot lights out.
I would take De'Aaron over him. I think that Buddy. We saw that in Buddy before. And it was just more of getting consistency, which is huge.
Yeah.
You need to be consistent to be a great NBA player, and Buddy Hield has clearly done that. But De'Aaron literally just took his 3-point shot and his shooting in general to another level.
Yeah.
So I would say ranking them, and I don't really care. Like some people don't like giving it to a sophomore because it's natural progression, but that's not natural progression. That's working your ass off. I would rank it Siakam, D'Lo, and then De'Aaron Fox as my top 3. But we'll see. And then let's move now to Coach of the Year. This one's probably the toughest for me, and we're already at an hour, so let's kind of make it a little bit quick. Who is your top 3 for Coach of the Year, and rank them in order of who you give it to?
To me, there's only 2. Like, there's a choice between Bud. There's a choice between Michael Malone. That's it. Which one do you want to give it to?
Why those 2?
Because Budenholzer comes in, and like Dave said with Giannis earlier, basically was like, hey, I'm going to be the keys to get you, like, bring the most out of you. And we went from a 7 seed to the 1 seed. And like Dave said, blowing out opponents left and right this year. And then like the nuggets of like, natural progression. That team's going to get better with age. But what he's been able to do to make them rival the Warriors to where the Nuggets could be the 1 seed. And that's what I mean by rival the Warriors, by getting the 1 seed. That, in my mind, are the 2 you give it to. I give it to Bud because bringing the potential out of Giannis is a little bit better to me than bringing the potential out of that Nugget team.
Why not Nick Nurse? Because I know people are going to be saying, well, last year the Raptors were great too. But this is a guy dealing with his star not playing every single game with Kawhi Leonard. He's dealing with a guy, we clearly see the step Pascal Siakam's taken underneath him. He's revitalized Danny Green. Hey. I think Nick Nurse deserves some credit here.
Dwayne Casey with DeMar DeRozan got him to a 1 seed. Like, you got Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, but you just got rid of the face of the franchise in DeMar DeRozan. Now
you added Kawhi Leonard. Like, I know
not playing every single game.
By your choice. It's not like he's injured.
By the
You're giving
front
him
office's choice.
Exactly.
I think if Nick Nurse had the choice, he'd be playing.
No, I know. But, like, it's the team's choice. They're sitting him. So I don't, like, you can say I'm being mean to Nick Nurse, but, like, Dwayne Casey got fired for being Coach of the Year. For what he did last year. So you're a 2 seed. Sorry, I've got
I think he deserves some credit. And I don't think it's down to 2 guys. I think that Budenholzer's up there. I think that you have to look at Nate McMillan in Indiana. The fact that this team is 5th, has clinched a playoff spot already, and they lost their best player. That definitely deserves to be a Coach of the Year candidate. I think Scott Atkinson, or is it Scott Atkinson? No, who's Atkinson from the fucking Nets? What's his first name? It's not Scott.
I think it's
Steve? Sean. It's an S. What is it?
I touched a net coach instead of Nets coach. It's Kenny.
Kenny Atkinson.
It's totally an S, Sean.
It's not an S. Kenny Atkinson. Sean Marks is
Sean Marks' brother.
Their GM. God damn it, Kenny Atkinson. I think Mike Malone for Denver definitely needs to be up there. You probably should look at Doc Rivers as well with the Clippers. And Jaeger would be there if they're a playoff team. The fact that they're still 37 or 38 should give him some contention too. My leader, though, would probably be Doc Rivers right now. The fact that this team has just been so consistent throughout the year. They really haven't taken a dip. They've been in pretty much the playoff race of either 8 or 9 or higher throughout the whole season. That's without a star. That's with trading their best player away in Tobias Harris. It's trading away a key bench player in Boban. Boban. And then
Bobby and Toby.
I mean, the fact that this team is still 45-31, 14 games above 500. That's absolutely incredible for me. So I'd probably lean Doc Rivers with the Clippers for Coach of the Year.
I want to like Doc Rivers, but I pure straight hate him still. Like it's a long time thing. Yeah, it's a long time grudge, and it's just something I'm not ready to get over yet. I will respect him as a coach right now. He's someone who I wanted fired in the past from the Clippers for him not being able to get over the hump.
I did too.
But yeah, you can't disagree with it. His work this year has been nothing short of incredible.
Well, and you look at this too. You put a competent guy in the front office. You're not giving this guy two jobs. And Doc Rivers, give him a Jerry West type figure.
You get rid of his son,
and it's incredible. Yeah, you get rid of his son. I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
Negative 14 win share for Austin Rivers. But yeah, I think Doc Rivers is probably my guy. I'd probably rank it Doc Rivers, Budenholzer, and then probably Nate McMillan as my 1, 2, 3.
I am taking the easy out and taking Bud. Like I spoke highly of him earlier. I really do respect what he did. I mean, he took the Atlanta Hawks, I know back in the day, and made them an all-star team of role players. And now he's taken a team of guys and Eric Bledsoe. Basically,
Al Horford's still been an all-star without him.
I know, but it's still the fact that it's like, come on, man. You got Korver in the All-Star game.
Jeff T, Korver, and Millsap.
Yep.
Horford, yeah.
That was insane. So when you can take a team of those caliber players and bring them to the All-Star level, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to talk about the playoffs because that did not end well for them. But at the same time, when you look at the players he's now working with in Milwaukee, and it's just like, dude, if you got that out of them in Atlanta, think about what you can do with Giannis, Chris Midd, the president, and Eric Bledsoe. Then you added in, obviously, Brook Lopez and Mirotic to space the floor and stretch things out. Like, he is working on a different level. He's pushing this team in different directions. Like, everything he's gotten out of them has just been unexpected from everybody in the league. So I have to go with he is in his own tier in my mind. I do agree Doc Rivers has been great. I think that I don't really love Nate McMillan because I feel like that's more of a, yeah, it's not worked out, but Indy was always like a middle team. Thinking that Bojan would be their go-to guy when Vic goes down, though. Didn't see that coming. What the hell happened to Tyreek Evans? He's trash. So I don't know. I think he's in the middle. But no, I think it's Bud and that's everybody else.
All right. Final thoughts on the award races?
No, I think we went through everything.
All right. Let us know your picks for the MVP, the sixth man, the Coach of the Year, the Most Improved Player, and Defensive Player of the Year down in the comments below. We want to definitely hear from you guys. This was way longer than we definitely expected at a hour and 11.
Wow.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed all that content. But let's move into our favorite weekly segment. This is Wet Boys. This is where we talk about the dampest of dudes, the soggiest of shooters, the moistest of men. This is where we give praise to the guys who absolutely went off in the past week, had historic performances, crazy stat lines, just wild and out, getting points, getting buckets left and right, or did something heartwarming. I don't know what the fuck this is for.
Is that Nick Cannon?
Player of the week, pretty much.
Was that Nick Cannon who was the host of Wild and Out?
I believe so.
Okay.
Ricky, start us off with your Wild and Out play.
No, I'm giving it to the Rookie of the Year, and that would be Trae Young. I mean, he has been balling out ever since the All-Star break. I mean, basically it was, I want to say, his second game this week. I was like, I'm giving it to Trae Young. I don't care what he does the rest of the week. I'm giving it to Trae Young, and he's been balling out 30 and 10 and 5 rebounds. Going to win Rookie of the Year, although I'd love to give it co-besties, Luka and Trae at the top.
Loser talk.
Co-besties, Dave.
Co-besties.
Talk. Here's a shower thought, though. And I almost threw this out the last segment, but I thought you guys would think it was stupid. So in between, I asked you guys, and Sean said it was a good idea. Could you imagine alternate reality? Jimmy Harden, James Butler. Like if their names were switched.
It's the dumbest thing I've heard, but also it really makes me think like, they'd be different people.
It just sounds weird.
James Butler, I don't know. There's just something like way too stern and serious about that. But it's funny because like Jimmy's personality on the court is so like locked in and intense. James, I could see that. Yeah. But Jimmy Harden, no. Jimmy Harden with a step back three.
Jimmy don't like that.
What if it was just Jim Harden and Jim Butler?
Ugh.
Jim.
That's a lose.
I'm glad there's no Jim. There's a Jimmer, there's a Jimmy, and there's a James, but there's no Jim in the league, and that's what I'm thankful of. I think there was Jim James, right? There used to be Jim James. I think he was a part of the Fab Five, but I don't think there's any Jims in the league, which I'm very
not right now.
But that's a great thought. It would totally flip.
It's bizarre.
If he was Jimmy Harden, he would not be my MVP.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way. Dave, give us your what play.
I'm taking the nice route here because I really, really think that this is a guy who has been overlooked for his whole career. Actually, he worked for it. Could you be honest? He worked for it. And Bruno Caboclo has been playing up to a level which I don't know if anyone ever thought he'd get there, but truly, to the calendar, 2 years away from being 2 years away when he was drafted, and this guy is balling out. He's shooting from three, which is incredible. He's putting the ball on the court, which I didn't know he could really do because I just didn't know if he'd ever have it in him, but he can take the ball on the court. He can shoot from the outside. He's putting it all together right now, and a lot of this credit, I think, needs to go to, I'm going to fuck up because I don't remember the coach's name, who the former coach of the 905 Raptors from Toronto. Jerry Stackhouse. Assistant right now for, obviously, the Grizzlies. Like, it's just, he's put it together for him, and those two guys together, I really think Bruno's got a bright future in front of him, so I'm hopeful that he keeps it going.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch.
And he's got
really.
the Suns tonight, so like that like he had decent stats last week. So he had 2 good games.
Dave's like, I'm gonna pick him.
This is like a preemptive. Like we're recording this on Saturday afternoon. Mm-hmm. He's gonna put up some great numbers against the Suns.
Well, hopefully he comes. I like these guys who get like shit on for most of their career.
Yeah.
And then actually turn it on. Like it's good to see. Like I'm happy for Bruno. And
when I saw he
had 24 points, I was like, holy shit.
He was a joke for like a couple of years, and now he's like a legit NBA starter. It's awesome.
When we get late in the season, like I usually I try to watch highlights every single night. And usually, like, sometimes some nights just I can't do it. Mm-hmm. But when I saw Bruno drop 24, I was like, I gotta watch this shit. So
before you give your wet boy though, the most famous gyms in sports: Jim Brown,
Jim McMahon.
You've got Jim McMahon, Jim Harbaugh, Jim Abbott, Jim Boeheim, and I think I'm missing one, but I don't think I do. So Jim Boeheim, Jim Abbott, Jim Brown, and
some good gyms.
Jim Harbaugh.
Some good gyms.
That's just also, the gyms, not James
and Jim Ross.
I fucked up. Fab Five was Jimmy King and Ray Jackson. So if you combined it, it would be Jim Jackson, not Jim James. But still, completely wrong. Let's move down to my whip boy. It is the guy who's most deserving, and nobody wanted to give it to him. I get it. He lost 3 games, but also that's
Dave
good.
asked in the text group who wants to take him.
I was going to take him anyways. Okay. Before you said that, I was going to take him. And again, like you're saying, oh, he shouldn't get it because he lost. That's what this team's supposed to be doing. This team is supposed to be tanking. This team is supposed to be bad. It's Devin Booker of the goddamn Phoenix Suns averaging 47 points per game, 6 assists, 5 boards, 53% from the field, and 36% from the three. He had fucking 50 and 59. Like, this guy's phenomenal. Yeah, I get it.
He's the worst person ever put up 50 back-to-back 50-point games, lose both of them. I mean, like,
who are the two other people who put back-to-back 50 games?
He's special.
So if he's in the company of like Michael Jordan, James Harden, like then he's the worst. But like,
I think that's the funny thing about him because we've never seen someone at such a young age. Well, we've rarely seen someone at such a young age put up as many points as efficiently as he is, and it's not super efficient from 3 anymore, but like. It's still impressive, but at the same time, he is absolutely trash on defense. And that goes to show when you look at the on-off stats for that team. They're so much better off with him off the floor. And that's a team with no depth. So I don't know. Like, I get it. He's an incredible scorer, but I feel like this is different, and this is just kind of sad.
He became the first Suns to ever produce back-to-back 50-point performances and was just the 10th player in NBA history, joining Wilt Chamberlain, heard he's a bum, James Harden, heard he's a bum, Elgin Baylor, heard he's a bum, Kobe Bryant, heard he is also a bum, Michael Jordan, heard he's also a bum, Rick Barry, complete bum, Bernard King, bum, Antoine Jameson, the weirdest name on this list.
It is kind of weird.
Out of all these guys, because all those guys are Hall of Famers, Antoine's like, he was good. And then AI. So pretty good company.
Did they all lose back-to-back games when they put up 50?
I don't have that.
No,
those stats.
I can tell you
but he is the youngest player to ever do consecutive 50-point outings.
Yeah, no, and that's cool. Like, I get it. He's a great scorer, but like his team's gotten worse every single year he's been in the NBA. And at some point,
but also
young talent needs to win games.
He also has like the worst GM and the worst owner. If he was on a different team, I don't think you'd be saying these things. And also, he's still only 22.
Yeah.
Like, he can become better defensively. He's already an elite scorer. He's an elite scorer.
I don't disagree with elite scorer. Like, it's like a worse version of the argument with James Harden when he like was not trying on defense, except for the fact that James Harden was winning games.
Damn, Antoine Jameson averaged 24 in a season.
Yeah,
I didn't remember that. But yeah, he did back-to-back games. He was 24, Antoine Jameson, 51-50, and he won one game by 3 and then lost the other one against the Supersonics by 16.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to Devin Booker. I don't care if he's bad defensively. What he did was impressive.
He's bad. His team's bad. It's all bad.
And you know what? His team is bad, and they should be bad because it's going to get him closer to getting help.
They're like locked in for a top 3 pick, whatever.
Yeah, but they're not. They're not locked in for top 4.
Yeah.
I mean, they could still have the top 4. The odds
I'm saying like from the odds standpoint, like there's no way to improve their odds at this point in the season.
Well,
no,
true.
There's not.
Yeah, that's true. I know. I keep forgetting, but yeah, they're locked in right now.
Yep.
In the top 3 for sure, and they're 2.5 games back of the New York Knicks. I still feel like we're still in the mode of last year where the number 1 pick actually means something having the number 1 slot, but it doesn't. So you're just gonna. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Whatever.
They're just losing games because they're terrible at basketball. You can say it out loud.
But they're also starting Jimmer Fredette, who went 0 of 10 from.
That was a feel-good moment because they want to have Jimmer play against.
It would be much better
the
if
Utah Jazz.
It'd be better if he was better at basketball.
Yeah,
it would feel real good if he was better at basketball.
But instead, it's like a feel-good moment for him.
You got more gym stuff for us, or are you good?
No, I'm good.
We're
out of gyms.
I'm looking at shoes.
Nice.
I gotta buy my.
You looking at Jimmer? You looking at Jimmers?
Here's the thing, and this is totally not
Jimmer
basketball, but I'm going to say it anyways. You know what I just noticed that kind of ticks me off?
What's that?
So the new Adidas Ultra Boosts came out, Game of Thrones style.
Yep.
My House Lannister ones, only women's. So I have to look now to see what my size would be in a woman's shoe.
You're going to buy a woman's shoe?
Dude, have you not seen the House Lannister shoes?
I don't
They're
care.
baller AF.
Oh,
that's a great place to end this. Oh, wait, we can't end it because we got to do fantasy. Fantasy updates. I wish we really could kill this segment after that one.
Those are only in.
We're in second place.
Women's running.
We're in second place. Super Hippo currently in first. 102 points. 102.5 points in first place. The big thing that we're just going to focus on because we got 2 weeks left. We're not really going to be able to improve our field goal percentage. We might be able to. We're in like 10th place, but any points will help. We're currently sitting at 46.47%, and Team Grantham's at 46.75%. And then blocks, we are also closing in. Team Corrupt has 481. We have 477. So those are the 2 that we can make up ground in. 3-point percentage, we might be able to. We're at 37.04. Big Ballers are at 37.81. So they're going to need a bad night, and we're going to need some good ones.
Yeah.
But the big thing's going to be blocks. So we went out and made some moves. We picked up the guys with the most blocks in the league right now. We dropped Marco Bellinelli. We dropped Devin White. And we picked up, or Derek White, and we picked up Jakob Poeltl and JaVale McGee. So we're starting all centers pretty much to win this league. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a battle.
Advanced analytics, man.
But we'll see. We got to make up 2.5 points. Hopefully, Super Hippo also falls off. We should see where he's failing, where he might take a slip up. He's getting chased right now by Kyle Craig. Super Hippo has 4,676 field goals made. 76ers have 4,665 made. So he's got an 11-point lead on the field goals made. So that's got to hopefully flip for them, for us to win that. And then that's pretty much about it. His team's really good. He's not going to get caught in blocks. He's not going to get caught in steals at all. Assists, too. He's got a pretty decent. Oh, he might flip and assist.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Super Hippo and Just Incredibles. They both have 2,529,000 assists this year. So he might. We just need him to really stop getting any assists. In Atlanta, Just Incredible to flip.
Yeah.
It. So we need them to separate.
Here's hoping.
So it's gonna be tough. We'll keep you updated though throughout the fantasy update. So
2
Ricky,
more weeks. We're nearly there.
We're almost there. you got a conclusion on the shoe thing, or can we end it?
No, you can end it.
Okay. Let us know your wet boy of the week down in the comments below. Let's move into the next topic, and we are talking about the Dallas Mavericks pick. This has been something that you guys have wanted us to talk about in the mailbag and the mock draft, so we'll give it a whole segment to make sure that you guys get that fill. Currently, the Dallas Mavericks are 29-46. They are in 6th to last in the NBA, so they're 6th in the Tankathon standings. And then if you're looking at the Atlanta Hawks, they are 5th, just above them by 2.5 games. So the Hawks are at 27-49. And right now, obviously, that's a big deal in the lottery standings because Dallas traded their pick to Atlanta, if you do not know, in the Luka Doncic Trae Young trade. It was the future 2019 first round pick for the Dallas Mavericks going to the Atlanta Hawks, but it is top 5 protected. So right now, the Mavericks have a 37.2% chance to be in the top 4 and a 9% chance to be first overall. Clearly, these fans want to keep their pick. The Dallas Mavericks franchise has pretty much been tanking since the post-All-Star break. We talked about it a little bit earlier. They were 23-28 on February 1st, and now clearly they've just fallen off the map, only winning 6 games since then. So we look at the Mavericks; they're tanking. They want to get that top 5 pick, so that does not transfer. It's, waits until next year.
Think about that. You walk away with Luka Doncic. I know it wasn't included in the deal, but you'll get obviously one of the potential best young players in the league. I mean, that would be fantastic if they can walk away with 2 top 5 picks.
Well, if they walk away with 2 top 5 picks and Kristaps Porzingis, and they'll still have a ton of cap room. Yep. So this is huge for them. If they get this could be completely franchise changing.
Damn.
I got
podcast.
It. Don't worry. This is just a move because Luka is clearly ready to take this team far. They've just throttled his chances. Kristaps Porzingis is still extremely young. If he's healthy, he's going to be great. And if they get a player like a Zion Williamson, if they get a player like an RJ Barrett, like a Ja Morant, that might not work too well, but we'll talk, obviously. That might really just change their future completely. So let's talk about it. Right now, the way it lays out, they have 90 chances in the lottery. Or 90 combinations, as we'll say it. That's what we did last year. So they have 90 combinations. They have a 9% chance to get the first overall pick, a 9.2% chance to get the second overall pick, a 9.4% chance to get the third overall pick, a 9.6% chance to get the fourth overall pick. And here's the thing is they cannot get the fifth overall pick. So pretty much the way it lays out is the number 1 team, so the Knicks right now, cannot get anything lower than the 5th pick. The Suns right now can't get anything lower than the 6th pick. I think who's at 3? The Cavs. The Cavs can't get anything lower than the 7th pick. The Bulls can't get anything lower than the 8th pick.
It's a 4-spot shift. Mm-hmm. That's the cap.
So that's pretty much the thing is where it picks up for the Mavericks is they can get 1 through 4 and then they can get 6 through 10. And they can't fall any lower than that. So what if they land in that top 4? What if they hit on that 37.2% chance of getting in the top 4? Mm-hmm. What will happen to this franchise? What's the move? And let's just go through every single pick. So if they get the number 1 pick, they get Zion Williamson. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a game changer because he's the most entertaining player in college basketball today.
He's the greatest player of my lifetime, at least in the college basketball game. I didn't see Shaq. I didn't see good old Kareem out there. I didn't see like the GOATs of college basketball.
Mm-hmm. Carmelo in college was
Fab Five.
Incredible.
I was 6.
I know that was a group, but like
I was 6. Anthony Davis, I guess, but I still put Zion over Anthony Davis.
He was in a different category. Yeah.
Just incredible what Zion's been doing. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that his addition to that team makeup, Luka, Zion, KP, would just be insane because you can run the fast break with Zion. Obviously, physically, he is so imposing. And I know this is him versus college kids, but it's not that much different in the NBA because guess what? He's still bigger than 85% of the league, probably.
He's only heavier. More. He's only he's second going to be the
next to Bobby.
Behind Bobby.
He said he's like at like 275 right now, so he took a little bit off the top during the season with all that cardio. So yeah, he'll still be able to body people up, and he's still an absolute brick shit house when it comes to driving to the basket. So I think it would be awesome for them defensively. It gives them a lot because he plays team defense like nobody we've seen. He's taking jumps at guys at the 3-point line from the freaking paint. Like,
I mean, it's the latest block edition, but the block yesterday against Virginia Tech, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna meet the ball at the highest point off the backboard.
Yeah, no, he just has a knack for it. So I think him with KP potentially would be one of the sickest defensive combos in the NBA, but also just they would have so much work because he can score inside, KP can score outside and inside. Luka distributing to 2 guys instead of no guys right now. Like, team would be amazing. I think they would be back in as like an 8th seed or a 7th seed even in the West, which is insane to say out loud. But think about all the free agents too. So there's a lot riding on this. But I think Zion absolutely is the can't miss number 1 pick, right?
Well, duh. That's why we've had he is the number one regardless of team. You take him. You take him number 1, and you are happy to take him.
How would Luka and Zion play next to each other? Because let's say Kristaps doesn't come back right away. We see just pretty much these two, regardless of the free agent spot. Well, actually, let's disregard that. Let's say they get Luka. Let's say they get Zion. Let's say they get Kristaps Porzingis. What kind of player would you put next to those 3? Take in the current roster. Take in those 3 players. What player type are you trying to add? Are you trying to add a shooter from the outside? Are you trying to add a guard who's great defensively? Are you trying to add just a 3-and-D wing? Like, what's the addition they need to make to this team? Because they got rid of Harrison Barnes, they got rid of Wesley Matthews. They currently have Courtney Lee on contract until next year. Yeah. They have Maxi Kleber. They have
Tim Hardaway Jr.
Well. They have Tim Hardaway Jr. What player type would you add next to Luka, Zion, and Kristaps?
To answer your question, I'm just going to let Tim Kalishaw answer it for you because I'm looking at this is the Sports Day Dallas News interviewed him, and they're like, what do the Mavs need to surround Luka with in order to maximize his talent? Kalishaw, shooters. He might lead the league in assists, or at least be competing for a top spot with a better perimeter shooter. A healthy Porzingis will be one of those. Someone with a higher efficiency than Tim Hardaway Jr. would help at shooting guard. It's basically LeBron thing, just shooters.
You build the team the same build as LeBron. I mean, I don't think LeBron's ever had anybody quite like KP on his team. Obviously, Chris Bosh worked well, when healthy, but KP's a different monster defensively than Bosh was. So I think that if you add another wing shooter out there, or even a combo guard shooter, like that's ideal for this team.
And that's why for me with the Mavericks I was going to bring this up, didn't know if I wanted to bring it up with Zion because of course I wouldn't do this for Zion, but anything less than that, an option for this Mavs team, let's say they get 2, 3, 4, or 5, I would think about trading, where it was like kind of like a trade that we saw last year where instead of the Mavs moving up, they would be like the Hawks. We're like, hey, if we can, especially at 2, if they get 2 and Ja's on the board, call the Suns up, call the Bulls up. Hey, you guys want to move up? We're open for business, and they could still get a guy that is a good shooter with a lesser pick while adding more draft capital for the future to help build around Luka even more.
Well, I think the big question then would how and this is kind of what I was asking, and I fucking flipped it, but how would Luka and Zion play next to each other? If we're saying surround him with shooters, Zion is clearly not a shooter. So how would that work?
But I mean, you're not gonna you're not gonna pass him on one. You're not gonna trade out.
How would they work? I'm not saying that you shouldn't draft them.
Yeah,
how
I just
would they
think
work
that
next to each other?
It's more of like instead of getting your big in free agency, you got him in the draft, and it's not like Zion can't develop a shot. I've been the one on the podcast
that shot push,
seeing
low arcing 3-pointer that he hit last night.
The way I see Zion developing a shot is kind of like what you talked earlier about with Blake Griffin, where I could see Zion developing not a knockdown jumper, but a shot to where Luka can still get him the ball, and I don't think it would be a bad thing to have them play next to each other. You're just getting arguably the 2 best players from the last 2 draft classes on your team.
Blake was still just a much more just clean shooter though. Like Zion's form is garbage.
Blake had that mid-range shot that he built out, and the shot motion, like you said, was clean, and he was just able to extend that over time and really add that volume to it.
But we've also seen guys like Buddy Hield, who was shooting with the wrong hand as a freshman.
But
sophomore.
That's not the problem with Zion.
No, but I'm saying
Zion has the wrong form.
But you can work with a coach and fix that. It's not like it's bad.
It's much harder than just saying you can fix it.
Sean, Triple J shoots a freaking shot put out there, and that thing goes in more than anybody would have expected at the NBA level.
Yeah, but his base is fine. Like
his
base is fine.
It is such a low arc shot that like everybody said he needs to fix his shot, but he's hitting effectively at college, and it was the same garbage around Lonzo Ball. I was like, well, the shot motion isn't great, but it's going in, so like maybe we can just tweak it a little bit. And I think that's essentially the same thing with Zion. Like if he can hit it like a 33, 34%, that's fine for Zion Williamson. That's not where he's doing his damage. He's doing his damage in the low post and on spin moves and on putbacks, and like he is just the high energy guy. Like for this team right now, they've got like Dwight Powell playing like the 4 right now, and he's like an insane version of Dwight Powell because it's just like he's the energy guy who can jump over people to dunk on them.
I think the biggest thing that this would help for at least Luka would be Zion's defense. That would be a massive help to Luka Doncic because right now Luka's just guarding pretty much anybody. I mean, like there's no really help for him defensively. Adding Kristaps, who was a monster at blocking shots when he was fully healthy. Adding Zion, who's probably going to be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate once he walks into the league. Adding that to his team is just going to take off that load for him. It's going to make him easy offensively, and it's really going to help him shine. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing, addition-wise. Like, it's going to help, take offensive loads off of him. It's going to help take defensive loads off of him.
Yeah,
and it's going to make him easier for him to work.
Like the one thing that I hadn't thought about until right now is like, can you imagine like having, coming off of a screen, like a Zion Williamson screen in the NBA? Like that's gonna stop some bodies, and I'm just thinking about like step back threes or curling off of a Zion screen for him, and Luka would just be insane. Like you can't run around Zion quickly, So I think that that's the one skill I'd love to see him continue to build on at the NBA level. Like his shot, all that stuff, yes, but the little things like being able to set incredible screens. Think of the value that would provide for a team with a shooter and a ball handler as capable as Luka Doncic. Like that would be money for them. And
also the fact that you could just have the biggest probably pick and roll outside of Joel Embiid. Like the fact that you have a 6'8" point guard in Luka Doncic and then a 6'9", 275-pound monster in Zion Williamson. And then also you can follow that up with a 7'3" unicorn with Kristaps Porzingis. Like
it would be a unique connection of talent.
Is going to be crazy.
Absolutely.
I'm not really focused too much on Zion changing his shot, because I think he's a great player whether he does that or not. I just think the biggest thing is that I worry about is just like, will there be enough room for him to operate between him and Luka Doncic? And I think there probably will be, because you could stretch Kristaps out, and clearly you're going to be able to. Luka has a great shot already from the outside. The biggest thing, though, is just like, will that be enough space for Zion to work? And then would it be enough space for Luka to drive in and then dish out, which he is fantastic at doing. But also one thing that you do see a lot with him, and you saw this with DeAndre Jordan was just finding spaces where Luka would drive in and then he'd find spaces, and then Luka was great at just like wrapping his arm around and just handing it off to DeAndre down low.
So clean.
So I think that's going to be something too, is that as long as Zion's moving and staying active out there on the offensive floor, Luka will be able to find him, and I think just the pairing would be ridiculous. That's I think pretty much what we got to say. I mean, if they get the first overall pick, it's an easy choice for anybody. It's Zion Williamson. Anything you guys want to add to that?
Nope.
No.
All right. Second overall pick. Let's say they don't get him. Who are they going with? Is it RJ Barrett? Is it Cam Reddish? Is it Ja Morant? Is it Jarrett Culver? Is it Bol Bol? Like, is that what we're gonna do?
Is that what we're gonna do? Are we gonna fight today?
I'm gonna say
who's the best addition at second overall if Zion's off the board?
Nobody you traded if you're number 2.
Why?
There's no one I select at number 2, because at number 2 then with Zion off the board, you could get something from the Bulls or the Suns or anybody who wants Ja Morant.
But like, what would that something be? Like from the Bulls, what are they going to give up for him?
I look at a similar
trade machine Ricky. I've asked for.
Well, no. I look at a similar thing that the Hawks did last year, of where it's like, because I'm assuming maybe like the Suns and Bulls aren't too far back,
right?
To where it's like we're gonna swap, and then I want a first
down
next year.
Let's just say everyone moves down one. So New York stays there, Phoenix moves down to 3, Cleveland moves down to 4, Chicago moves down to 5. So if it is just a next year swap, how does that help the Mavericks at least this year? Because then that's going to put them back to the 5th overall spot. So who would you think they'd be taking there? And then also, what does that future do for them?
Well, for me, it's the best fit is Jarrett Culver. Like, that's the guy I want. He can shoot. He can finish around the basket. He doesn't need the ball in his hand, so Luka can be the ball guy to get the assists and get the ball to Jarrett Culver. And he adds defense, and he can be a defensive guy next to Luka. but not have to have some of the issues or some of the problems that you were maybe saying with Zion. That's why me at 2, I wouldn't take him at 2. I would trade back because I don't think a team would take him at 2. Trade back, get an extra pick for next year as well, get who I want this year, and get a pick next year.
I think there's something that helps the Mavericks and something that hurts them. The thing that hurts them is they're not a candidate to take Ja Morant, so Phoenix really doesn't have a need to trade up for them because if they're at 3 and Dallas is at 2, they feel like they'll still be able to get their point guard in Ja Morant. However, the thing would be is the Bulls are at 5. They still want him, so that might cause competition for him. So
Absolutely.
It's bad that the Dallas Mavericks don't need Ja Morant, but it's also good that the fact that they but it's also good that the fact that the Bulls do and they're behind Phoenix, they might make a play up for them. But let's get to the can they use him part for it. What would Ja Morant be like on Dallas?
I think you try to use it similar to what the Houston Rockets are doing with Chris Paul. And I know this is not Chris Paul and James Harden, but you have to figure that effectively their offense could run in a similar style. Obviously, you have KP down low, which is an entirely different weapon than Clint Capella. But I think the ball handling ability and facilitation from Ja Morant coming into the league is going to be a lot higher than most people expected. Like, the dude's averaging 10 assists in college for a reason. His shooting is actually better than most people know. It's just there's so much about his game that I think that if you pair him with Luka, yeah, I know ideally you don't want to take the ball out of his hands, but if there's one player that I would want, it would probably be Ja Morant there because I think Jalen Brunson's been an excellent pairing. JJ Barea was an excellent pairing when he was healthy, but someone like Ja Morant who can be that true guy who can take over games, who if Luka doesn't have it that night, Ja Morant has no problem carrying the load.
And I think a big thing, too, that stands out to the two guys that you mentioned before we go to Ricky is the size of those guards. Jalen Brunson's not a big guard. JJ Barea is not a big guard. And Ja Morant's bigger than those guys, but he's still a very thin guard.
6'2", 7'5", I think.
So, I mean, small guards have worked with Luka Doncic before, and I think a big thing, too, is he can find him across the court. If he's ISO'd one-on-one on the opposite side of the court, Ja Morant can find him. I think that's the biggest thing. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, you mentioned the Chris Paul, James Harden thing. Luka, to me, would be more into that Chris Paul because I feel like Ja would be the more dominant scorer. And Luka, we've seen it already. I've seen it where Luka, there was a couple games where the one that I saw with the one where he pulled the jersey over his face after they lost. Game-winning shot, I'm going to pass it off. It's like, Luka, take the shot. You're the guy. Nope, I'm going to pass it off. This guy's got a better shot, and he missed. And that's where he pulled the jersey over his face because it's like, oh, my God, I can't believe we lost this game. It was like against the Spurs or something. I could see that being where Luka could be like, all right, Ja, take it. And like he would maybe be a more selfless player than Ja would. I would personally, because of that, not want Ja on the Mavs.
I extremely disagree that that's how it would play out. I think Luka is a complete number one scorer. He has had, 8 games? 8 games of 30-plus points and 41 of 20-plus.
Unless you're hoping they can be PG and Russ?
No, I don't think there's a combination for them out there. I don't think there's a clear-cut player combo for them. I think the biggest thing that's going to hurt them is defensively. Luka's too slow to be going up against like LeBron James. Like he puts himself in decent position, but he's not a great enough athlete to defend like the best of the best.
Right.
And Ja, if he's going up against a James Harden or if he's going up against a bigger guard, he's going to get bullied because he
probably going to get cooked.
He isn't that big. He's quick, but he's not big enough to go up against those guards. So I think that's the biggest thing that's going to hurt them is defensively. I think offensively would be unique for sure. I think that having Luka, I don't know how Ja would play off ball would be the biggest thing. And I think that would be the biggest thing that would hurt that pairing. And if I was 2 overall and I wasn't trading, because I think trading him is a very viable option there, I'd probably look at RJ Barrett. Just because he can move the ball. We saw last night 14 assists. A very willing passer. Although we keep bringing up
11. I'm sorry, it was 11, right?
11.
Yeah.
I think you said 14.
I said 14, and I thought.
I know he had 9 at some point in the game, and then it obviously went up because that was like 12 minutes left in the fourth in the second. But I think with that is the fact that he's a very willing passer. We keep bringing up Mamba mentality of RJ Barrett, but he realizes who he's playing next to against with Zion Williamson, and he knows he's got to get him the ball. And Trey Jones is on fire. He knew he had to get Trey Jones the ball. And I think I keep wanting to say Trae Young. I was sorry, I caught up. But
Too many Trays.
Yeah, he knew Trae Jones was on fire, so he was passing the ball off to him. And himself, he was really efficient last night. RJ Barrett wasn't great from three, but I think he realizes that Luka's going to be great, and he knows what KP is. So I think he would be a guy that would be a willing passer. And I think RJ, when he's very locked in, can be a good defender. So I think if we're looking at wings, I think that would probably be the biggest addition that they need to make. If it is just Luka and KP right now, the biggest addition, if they don't get a wing, if they don't have this pick, the biggest thing that they need to look for in free agency will be a wing. Being able to draft a guy like that in RJ Barrett would be huge for them. And I think if you have the second overall pick, you go RJ Barrett.
Other than the contract, like what does he add that Tim Hardaway Jr. isn't giving you?
He's bigger immediately. He's a better passer immediately. Not as an efficient. Well, I think he might be more efficient near the rim. I think he's going to be much better in space and in traffic. I think he's a better free throw shooter right now. I could be 100% wrong on that. I don't know what Tim Hardaway Jr. shoots from the free throw line, but I think he will get to the line more, which will definitely be much.
Hardaway's an 84% on the year at the free throw line.
RJ's way worse than that.
34 from three.
Yeah, RJ's way worse from the line, but he actually goes to the line more than Tim Hardaway does. Or at least I feel like he will at his peak. And I think that will at least, again, lead to drawing in. And since he is much more a willing passer, it would draw the defense in, and then it obviously lead to kickouts to KP or Luka and whoever else is on that team, Courtney Lee. So I think he does bring a different element to his game of being a longer, more willing passer wing that can really create more havoc, at least in the paint, and open up more shots on the outside than Tim Hardaway cannot. Tim Hardaway,
when he starts driving, Hardaway isn't the long-term answer, probably. But
when he has the ball and he's locked in, he's shooting.
Yep.
And that's a big thing. He's not going to be dropping 6 assists a night.
No, he's not.
So I would say if you're keeping the second overall pick, it's RJ Barrett, and I don't think it's really close unless you have a disagreement there. Would you go John Morant?
No, I would take RJ Barrett over John Morant for the Mavs. Purely on the team. I think the ceiling for both these guys is pretty close. I lean John ceiling, but I think RJ Barrett works better with the ball out of his hands. John Morant's a question. We haven't seen him. Last year, he was a different player. Yeah. You know?
Clearly, you're on the trade the pick.
I am.
But if you keep it, would you go RJ Barrett, or would you go John Morant, or would you go Jarrett Culver?
If you're putting a gun to my head and said I can't trade, I'm going.
Trades are off. It's 2K my league. Trades are off.
I'm going RJ only because I don't want to take the part of me is like, you don't pass over this because Ja could be something special, but I would go at RJ because I think the fit is better. However, I'm turning trades back on.
Nope.
The Suns are the team that I would target because they are a team that might be okay with giving up their pick because they will for sure have the Milwaukee pick next year because I don't see Milwaukee being 1 through 7.
Yeah, but what's the value of a 27th overall pick?
But if you're getting
top 5 pick, because the Suns are going to be right back there because they suck at basketball.
No, I know that. But if you're getting John Morant, maybe you can say, okay, we're getting a guy we really want this year, and we'll still be kind of like the Nets. We still have a later pick later on and can hit when the Nets got Karis LeVert.
Here's the thing that I'll say to that, though, is what if there's not a market? What if there's not a market for the Chicago Bulls? They know that the Mavericks have 2, the Suns have 3, and they see that clearly if they want John Morant, they're going to have to trade up. And what if Garpax just do not feel that they're in a position to give up that future assets, those future capital, and get rid of a future draft pick? And this is just what if, because I think if they're in that position, they will trade up.
Yeah.
But if they don't, there is no market for them to trade down. And I think that could be something, because if the Mavericks are at 2, they're not taking John Morant, and then therefore that takes out the Suns. And if the Bulls don't want to trade up, then they're not trading up.
You say no market. I feel like with Ja at 2, there's a market of course the Suns and Bulls are the big ones, but who are some other teams we said could take a point guard? The Grizzlies, but I don't see them trading up. The big one is the Hornets. If they're a team that's like, hey, you know what? We don't know if Kemba's going to re-sign, or we're feeling like Kemba's not going to re-sign. They could make a move up. The Magic could be like, hey, no, we need a point guard.
But that's
Let's
a
go
lot.
ahead. And those deals change, where Bulls and Suns could mirror the deal we saw last year of we'll just swap, and then you give us a first rounder for next year, and we'll have it top 5 protected. Cool. But if it's the Hornets and the Magic, they would have to give up more. And for the Suns, if they have it top 5 like Dallas had it this year, then it protects them from, what if we do suck? we will still have our top 5 pick next year.
So trade versus picking, you're on the side of pro trade.
I am pro trade it too, 100%.
What are you, pro trade or
I'm
picking?
taking the pick.
Okay.
Yeah,
why is
go
that?
RJ.
Is it because you don't think the value is there for the future picks?
I don't think the value is there. No, I don't. I think if anything, I would go for that 2021 pick and hope that the college rule. Basically, it's just the college rule. It's just give me the ability to take a kid
an 18-year-old.
Yeah, give me a kid who hasn't had to go to college. That will be the most loaded class of prospects that we will see in our lifetime, likely, because of just the sheer volume of eligible players. So, I mean, it's also going to be super volatile, but like. That is the class to target.
So basically, look at our way too early, and that's what it would have been.
Like that's exactly why the Clippers went for that, because they got that Heat pick.
That's a good point, and I think both teams do have their 2021s.
And that's not far enough away to really say it's not in the timeline for like Luka and KP. I think that's still fine.
I know the Bulls do have their 2021 draft pick, and then the Phoenix does not. Phoenix is that was the the Heat pick.
No, they do.
Oh, they do. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Heat traded their pick to the Suns, then they traded it to the Sixers, and then they traded to the Clippers.
Correct.
But the Suns do have their 2021. So, but then again, the Suns might have that same mindset of,
they're still going to be bad at that point.
They're still going to be bad at that point, which they might not be.
Yeah, I mean, we hope not, but like, history.
So let's say Ja's off the board, Zion's off the board, because let's say New York and Phoenix stay 1-2, they get their guys.
Super easy or
clear
stick with RJ,
Barrett,
right? Yeah.
Well, let's go to you. RJ or Jarrett Culver? Who do you think? Because you said you like Culver best fit.
I do like Culver best fit, and it's only because with RJ, I feel like there's good and bad. Where the good is that Luka is not a selfish player, to where this Mamba mentality that we've kind of attached to RJ.
But he just put up 11 assists.
He does.
In the most important
we're just being assholes.
Isn't going to be.
He doesn't actually have a Mamba mentality.
Well, the whole reason we started saying it is because he had mentioned it, and then we attached it to RJ.
It was kind of off the Jason Tatum shit too.
But I mean, the thing with that is like, if I'm looking offensively, RJ could be more of a dominant like, and I'm saying like personality wise, would be like, give me the ball. Luka's selfless to be like, okay, I don't have the best shot here. Go take it, RJ. And they can work off each other that way. But RJ defensively is nothing compared to what I could get out of Jarrett Culver. And if I'm going to use the model that a lot of teams want to go, and I'm going to throw the Warriors out there again, although it wouldn't be exactly tick for tack, but what do? Hey, I have a star who is not or is deficient in defense. Let me pair him with somebody who is good defensively and doesn't need the ball in their hand. Or it could be a little bit Steph and Clay without being exactly Steph and Clay.
Jarrett Culver has needed the ball in his hand to succeed at the point he's at. And that's my question is, obviously last year he was basically just a role player to Zaire Smith and a veteran point guard. And this year he's carried a lot of the load, becoming a creator and a facilitator for the majority of his time on the court. So that's my concern is, when I see Jarrett Culver, I wonder how efficient he can be playing off ball as a third option, because that's realistically, it's best case scenario. This guy is going to be your third option on the team, because you have Luka, you have KP, assuming healthy, assuming long term stays. So this guy needs to be able to fit in that role and not need the ball in his hands. So I worry about that, because it's a question.
But like you said, he did play off ball when Zaire Smith
was a role player.
But the reason why Jarrett Culver's a top 5 pick, he wasn't even as a freshman, he wasn't even on our radar. He didn't declare, but he also wasn't on our radar at all.
It was like, man, Zaire Smith is good. Man, can't wait to see what this guy also does next year.
No. No one had that feeling.
Well, no,
it was Zaire Smith is freaking guarding
I don't know what you're talking about.
As a two.
Personally, Jarrett Culver was not on my radar last year. That's
personally excited to see what he could do this year. Now with Zaire Smith not there.
But
didn't know Jarrett Culver existed.
We did 8 mock drafts last year. Jarrett Culver did not make
the second round.
He was not in the draft. I'm talking just college basketball in general.
We did a second round,
Yeah, we had a full 60, and he wasn't on there.
I'm just talking college basketball in general, not even draft.
I'm just saying,
he
according
wasn't
to the draft. Okay, according to the draft, he wasn't on our radar because he didn't, and now that he has this, higher usage, and we're seeing more of him, he's all the way to a top 5 pick. So if he didn't have this, without this, he was not even a blip on the radar, and now with this, he is a top 5 pick.
We understand he has gotten better as a player over the year.
And the usage percentage, 22.1% his freshman year to 31.8%. Assist percentage is doubled, 13.7% to 26.8%. He's pretty much 1/4 of the assists that this team's getting.
Yeah.
That's actually crazy. But I think that's a really fair point that you bring up, Dave, is the fact that, I don't know how he work off ball. He was fine freshman year, 38.2% from three. But as a shot creator, shooting 4.1 threes a game, 31.9%. So he might become a better shooter off ball. If he's coming off lock-ins, if he's coming off baseline screens, he might be able to become a decent three-point shooter. But I think that Ricky's right, at least in the fact that you go R.J. Barrett just because the high end is way higher than R.J. Barrett, and he has been able to pass the ball. I think Culver would need the ball in his hands to succeed at some point, but it's kind of like with Dennis Smith Jr., where yes, Dennis Smith Jr. needs the ball in his hands to succeed, but there's clearly a better ball handler. There's a better player in Luka Doncic. You don't give it to him. Where Ja and RJ kind of create that battle of, all right, maybe let's give him some possessions because these guys are touches. Yeah, they deserve these touches.
For me, and I know that you can't take one game, but it's like I just watched highlights from the Texas Tech game against Northern Kentucky earlier in the tournament, where it's like most of the plays with Jared Culver, someone else had the ball, they're getting them the ball, then he drives to the rim, where he's not the dominant, like, I'm going to bring it up by myself. Can create. To where I look at this and I go, man, could you imagine if that other guy was Luka?
I mean, they do have together. They have a veteran point guard on the team, but
but and then I think Luka would be your veteran ball handler in the NBA for the Mavs. So that's why I look at it and I just go, that is the perfect fit. But at 3, I feel like it would be too high. So even at 3, I would think about trading, but it wouldn't be as high as if I was at 2.
Yeah, but at 3, I don't think you have much of a market. Because
if Ja's off the board.
You're telling me that teams wouldn't want to move up for R.J. Barrett?
No.
I don't think so.
I
don't think he's
you couldn't sucker a team like Cleveland into trading up to take an R.J. Barrett.
I think. Here's the thing. Let's look at the past top 5 trades. Luka Doncic was a franchise player, and the Dallas Mavericks knew that, and the Hawks felt that they really liked the value that they're getting. Not only were they getting a player they liked in Trae Young, they were also getting a number 1 pick. The Mavericks would need to feel that's out there. I don't know who really thinks RJ is going to be that franchise player. He might be able to. His top end might be able to, but I think a safe projection for him is possible All-Star. And then we look at the Celtics and 76ers one. That was a move because the Celtics didn't need the first overall pick. They didn't have a need. And the 76ers saw this and they said, hey, we have Markelle Fultz who will be able to be a perfect pairing next to Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
So that's why they went with him. And at least those were the 2 recent top 5 picks trades in my mind. I just think that really it'd be tough to find a top 5 pick and a top 5 trade that would work out for Dallas and another team. And which team would it be? Would it be Cleveland? If Cleveland's sitting at 4 and the Dallas is picking at 3, like, do they need to give up those future assets when they're that bad of a team to get this one player?
And you think it all comes down to what's the difference in your mind between the value of R.J. Barrett and Jarrett Culver. And I think that it's not too far apart.
And we're debating them.
Yeah.
We're debating them right now.
I don't think it's a massive gap.
We're all picking R.J., but I mean, it's still a debate that we just had for 5 minutes. So.
For me, I think that the whole thing of like nobody's going to want to trade up is ludicrous because somebody's going to fall in love with him. Somebody's going to fall in love with RJ and say, we need to have that guy and trade up for him. Kind of like the Mavs last year of like, Luka's our guy, and they traded up to go get him. Now, it worked out perfectly because the Hawks did want Trae Young, and they felt like, hey, we're only swapping pick for pick here, and Trae Young will still be there at that time. I feel like there will be a team that falls in love with RJ Barrett, but at the same time, Jarrett Culver through workouts.
Here's the thing, it's a different draft.
Could be higher on people's boards where the Mavs at 3 could say, hey, we have to take him here instead of RJ.
It's a completely different draft. If this was this year's draft, Trae Young would probably be the 2nd overall pick. Like, let's just put it that way. And Trae Young was 5th. And Trae Young was, I think, 7th in ours at some point last year. I mean, that draft was completely loaded.
Oh, yeah.
So you're falling in love with a guy at 7. That means you're falling in love with a guy who was a franchise pick. And the biggest knocks on him were, his size. Outside of that, he did everything you wanted. He producing. The defense came with the size, but yes. But the big, he had the production. He had all the production you wanted in the world. He was a quick, fast, modern day point guard. He had
with
everything you wanted.
Range.
Yeah,
I mean, it was incredible.
The biggest thing was how much would be able to grow, and clearly that's worked out.
Where would RJ go in last year's draft? I think that's where you're getting to, right? Is like if Trae would jump up that high on this year's,
my thing is like
RJB.
It was easier to fall in love with guys last year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, because those guys were
so
much better prospects.
Yeah.
And I think maybe outside of Zion. And RJ's a fantastic prospect, without a doubt. I think if you put RJ last year and we're doing a big board, I think he's probably
right.
He's better than Wendell Carter. He's better than Mo Bamba.
It's not better.
It's like the Jaren Jackson range that gets tricky because I love Jaren Jackson, but
I think
for
Jaren's
number
better.
one, it's
I would probably have him like 6 or 7 on my board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Luka number 1.
Yeah.
Who's 2?
I'm still going.
Ayton?
It would probably be Luka, Ayton, Trey, Jaren, Bagley, and
yeah, I wasn't. I think what I would do is
you also have to think about it too. Like, we kind of have a bias of we've seen what last year's players have done.
Yeah, but I remember a big board from last year, and mine was Luka, Ayton, like Michael Porter Jr. was high, but he was injured.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing with him and with us was just like, we know what he can do, but he's injured. And I think we didn't drop him because in our mock drafts because of the rumors that the Kings wanted to take him to.
Yeah.
So then we were like, oh well, he's healthy. So I think that was the biggest thing. Like, because if he was healthy, he was my number 1 player.
And there was he's going to play again this season for the tournament time. And
yeah.
we're like, okay, well then we won't drop him completely.
Look like shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he was fully healthy, and the reports coming out were that he was fully healthy, he would have been above Luka in my mind. I had that coming into the draft.
Yep.
I had that coming into the draft. I was going to stick with it.
Yeah.
But if I did this, taking in health,
yep.
It would be Luka, DeAndre, then probably Jaren, then I'd probably put RJ there.
Really, above Trey?
I didn't like Bagley. Bagley was like 8 on my mock draft last year. I like Bamba better than Bagley.
Yeah.
I think I'd revamp it with Trey because Trey. I was definitely wrong on Trey.
Yeah,
he was right. I was wrong on Trey.
This guy saw it coming.
But yeah, I think that, and my biggest things were size and his defense, and I just over.
And how do you recreate what the greatest shooter of all time is doing? And we're watching him in his prime right now, and it's just like, okay, yeah, I can sort of see that. It's working out. I don't know. I think he'd be at the tail end of my 5 through 7 range. Like, he'd be 5 through 7 for me. So when you ask about that value, I have the questions about trading up for him. I know he's very good. I don't know how good he is. And
of course, I feel like this discussion is just draft analysts. Kind of
NBA draft
kind
analysts.
Of overall, just like,
that's totally what we are.
We've looked at these guys so much to where it's like, you look at somebody long enough, you're gonna find negatives. Like what people are like with Zion coming back. It's like, yeah, but if you stay another year, people are just gonna, because we've talked about you so much, are gonna find more negatives in your game and harp on those. I feel like that's what we're doing kind of now with RJ. Where, think about it though, we had a discussion not even 2 weeks ago about him and Ja being the
2 and
second
3
overall pick. And which one should be 2 and which one was 3. It's not like which one's 2
but it's
and then now which one's 4.
Drafts.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying just this draft alone, take the trade out of it. Take the value of that trade out of it. Just the fact of trading in general, in my mind at 3, if I'm the Mavs, I'm sitting there and I'm going, hey, you know what? RJ would be nice. But me personally, I like this fit of Jarrett Culver better.
Yeah.
He'll be there at 4. He'll be there at 5. If I feel like he'll be there at 6, there will be a team. I feel like there will be one that's after them that will fall in love with RJ to where you could work a deal out and still get the guy that fits your team the best, because this is what drafting is, getting the guy you want. Like, if the Mavs want RJ, take him at 3.
We did see RJ.
I personally think if the Dallas Mavericks, who would be fine with either RJ Barrett and Jarrett Culver, other teams can make that same exact argument. And you're saying that the Dallas Mavericks would be willing to trade down because the leap isn't too much and they're getting value. Well, then why would a team want to trade up and add value? Because that just makes RJ Barrett the hit even more. It makes him more important. Because then you're hurting the future of the team.
You got to schmooze them a little bit.
What do you mean?
You got to make them think they want it. Like, the whole thing with trading, it's not like, oh yeah, well, you and I both know that I could take RJ here. It's no. When they trade, it's, hey, I got to kind of like play you a little bit. I got to work the room and basically get you to where you want to be. And that's what I feel like it's going to be. Basically, That's what the Mavs are going to have to do if they're going to trade in this draft.
I don't know.
Not
Okay,
as
but
bad as that,
your
but
argument
like,
was the fact that teams are in
Teams
love with
are gonna fall
RJ
in
Barrett.
love
They're
with
going to
him.
trade for him.
And
You're now saying that the Mavericks need to
I'm saying
deceive teams into
but
trading
I'm
for him.
going
RJ's
off,
so good, but you know what?
Dude.
Like, if you wanted him, like, I guess you could have him. I mean, he did play so well with Cam Reddish sitting on the bench. Like, that's really the better form of the Duke team is with Cam Reddish not on it. Like, let's be honest, guys. So, like, you saw he could facilitate, he can score, he can pass, he can do it all.
I'm going to be a dick here.
Yeah.
You guys know this Tim Hardaway guy?
Yeah.
He's not our team. You could have him. You just trade up for him.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can make a team fall in love with RJ Barrett. I don't think that's really out there, especially
Those
if
individual
Culver's out there that
workouts
can
is the
have that.
question, because that's where we saw Jason Tatum have his rise. It was his individual workouts were amazing. Markelle Fultz had his fall literally at the same time. We heard in the workouts, not so great stuff. Bagley, amazing workout, cemented himself as the number 2 for Sacramento because they fell in love with him. So I'm not saying it's not possible. I think that the value between Barrett and Culver is not as far as many people want to spread that out. I think they're both pretty close. Culver has that tenacious defense to him, and I think that is such a high value for, especially back to the Mavs, like that team. I don't know that they would really be like, well, if we can drop back 4 picks, like whatever. I don't know. That it's a question. It's too hard to figure out an answer though right now because it's just there's too many teams. The way this lottery is going to work out is going to be insane.
Yeah. And let's move to the final one, pick 4. 9.6% chance that they get the 4th pick in this draft. That means RJ's probably off the board if the Cavs, Suns, and Knicks are 1, 2, 3. That means RJ's off the board. That means Ja's off the board. That means Zion's off the board. So that leads into Jarrett Culver there at 4. Any other guys? I mean, does this where Cam Reddish come in? I mean, Ricky, you're clearly on the Jarrett Culver train. I'm assuming if they have the 4th pick.
Jarrett Culver's my guy, but if I had to give a second one, I might go DeAndre Hunter over Cam Reddish.
Okay. What do you like about Hunter for the fit of the Mavericks?
Same thing that I see in Jarrett Culver of the 2 big things of can shoot, especially, and can shoot from the outside, plays defense. Like those are the 2 big things that checks the box that could work the best next to Luka.
And he doesn't need the ball in his hands. I think that's one of the biggest things. You go and hope that you can make him your Klay Thompson. Like that is the
just
he can
bigger.
Fit. Yeah, he can fit on any team. He plays great defense.
I don't know about a great shooter.
He can be a good shooter. Obviously not.
For
like,
sure.
Come on, Klay was like top 10 all time. Like, it's stupid.
Well, that's why when you're throwing out
in the
Klay
mold
Thompson,
of,
I'm like, all right, cool.
In the mold of.
Yeah.
That's we always compare to all-time greats. Like that's sort of unfortunately the habit of draft projections is.
But he could be like
you try to set people on a target. He'd be Danny Green-esque.
Does
that sound sexy?
Well, I was thinking more like a Rocco.
Rocco, yeah.
Where Rocco is an elite 3-and-D player. It just depends on what's his actual cap.
As shit.
But also then Rocco, when healthy, he's going to be he's one of the most valuable players for your team because he can do everything defensively and offensively. I think the Hunter versus Culver thing is definitely going to be an interesting battle.
And that's even another thing. Like I know Dave, you were just saying like, well, I don't know why you'd want to trade back to like 6 or 7, but that's another thing. If DeAndre Hunter's in there, you can say, okay, Jarrett Culver, who's we really like, but hey, we are getting additional picks, maybe a 2021 pick that you said is going to be so valuable that year. Hey, we'll be at 7. DeAndre Hunter will be there. I'm happy with that.
You got to call and talk to teams like Memphis, Washington, New Orleans,
and
Lakers.
There's a whole
teams.
process to it. And like when I was saying the whole smooth thing, it was going off of what Sean was saying, where I think there will be a team that falls in love with it and falls in love with J.R. Barrett.
RJ
Barrett. I said
good old J.R. Barrett.
I knew that didn't sound right in my head. But R.J. Barrett.
Good old J.R.
To where if it's on your side where you're like, hey, why am I trading up? That's the smoozing. You got to get them to feel like, yeah, you need to trade up because then I could take them. But you don't want them on my team. You want them on your team. But like, yeah, you're going to have to contact. But it's like, moving back is not a bad thing for Dallas if they get a top 5 because you can get a Jarrett Culver if you're in the top 2. If you're at 4, you can move back to maybe 6 or 7 and get a DeAndre Hunter and get additional draft capital because that is going to help you more than just taking a single guy in this draft and moving on.
All right, and that's they should be doing for if they get the top 4 pick. They might end up at 6, and we just wasted 44 minutes. But hey, it's still a viable option for them, and we'll see when it comes to the NBA draft lottery in the end of the season where they end up and what their true odds are.
Knowing the Bulls will be at 6 because everyone will jump. I'm just preparing for it. I'm mentally preparing for a fall.
We'll see. Mavericks fans, let us know what you want. Clearly, you're probably going to want the number 1 overall pick, but lay us out. If you have the number 1 overall pick,
lay us out.
Lay it out to us. If you have the number 1 overall pick, let us know why you want Zion. If you have the number 2, let us know who you want. Number 3, let us know who you want. 4, etc. Also, let us know what you'd want for a trade. If you do end up trading that pick,
do you think they can get that value
suggesting?
back?
Let us know who you would think they'd trade for. And what team back. I think clearly the biggest options are going to be the Suns and the Bulls. And if the Bulls and Suns feel like they can give up that future assets, I think it's definitely going to be a huge trade market for the Dallas Mavericks. So that'd be a huge win for them if they do get that 2nd overall pick. But let's move into the final topic, and we were talking about Bol Bol. But before we do that, check us out on iTunes. We'd appreciate your support over there. If you want to check us out, search The Fast Break and give us a 5-star rating if you do like the content that we are putting out. But we're talking about Bol Bol because he recently signed with an agent and declared for the NBA draft, so he's sticking in the NBA draft. He's not going to pull out of the NBA draft. Dave's a child and can't handle me saying those words.
I mean, I'd pull out, right, Dave?
I'm not
can't handle a kid right now.
Not looking at the camera. Not looking at the camera right now.
The freshman from Oregon played 9 games for the Oregon Ducks before injuring his foot. In those 9 games, he averaged 21 points per game, 9.6 boards, 1 assist, 56% from the field, 52% from 3 on 3 threes a game, and also 2.7 blocks. He is currently right now, for me, according to the last mock draft, he was 15th going to the Heat. Dave, you had him going to the. Hold on, sorry, this is an old one.
So in Celtics?
The Celtics at 14, and then Ricky, you had him going all the way up to 8th. And I do want to respond to some things from the mailbag because I was
mailbag part 2.
I was. It's not really. I was.
But it is.
I was called out for some of my Bol Bol stuff. Nick, who's the Grizzlies fan who hates Dave, said, I think Bol Bol is the second coming of God. I see him being a 35, 15, and 5 player in his 3rd year, barring injury. You can't teach height. Why y'all don't have him at number 1? You said, what?
You can't teach that.
No, you can't.
I was gonna Enzo more it.
And here's another one too. From Ladyboy Lover, who said, Sean, your level of ignorance regarding Bol Bol is outstanding. I'll leave that as that. Forget about the injury debate because none of us know his future there. Talking about that much about his body, though, you sound like one of those people at the Combine that were criticizing Durant for being skinny and not being able to bench 185. He also said, let's see. Where is it? There was one other one that he said. Oh, it was this one. Well, y'all can't handle all my comments because no one mentions it. That's that, or it's discrimination based on my screen name. It's one of the two.
I was going to bring that up. No,
it's not.
To do with your name.
We just didn't.
Yeah.
We just didn't want to talk about any of the things that you were saying.
But we do appreciate all the comments.
Yeah, we do. But now we are talking about some
of 10 of mailbag.
I will say with Nick, Bol Bol is definitely what I think all of us can say. He's not going to be a 35, 15, and 5 player. 15 rebounds in
Kevin Garnett told me anything is possible.
Okay, but
when he was supposed to say nothing is impossible.
To just put that in perspective, at least for the rebound thing, the only guy grabbing 15 boards like in the past 10 years is Drummond. And I'm trying to get the year-by-year thing for this, but like that's elite category right there. He's not going to be a 15 board guy. He could definitely get like 12 or 13. Like he's got the height to grab those boards. 35 is definitely not going to happen. In the modern NBA, the only two people to do that is Kobe Bryant and James Harden.
Hits 10 threes a game?
He's not going to.
It's so easy to get 30 points then, right?
James Harden, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant are, I think, the last 3 guys to do 35 points per game, and the other guy is Wilt.
Yeah.
So, like, Wilt was doing it at a different pace play where the average height was, like, 6'8". And then Michael Jordan's doing it where, he's the greatest scorer of all time. Kobe Bryant's the greatest scorer of all time. James Harden's probably the greatest scorer over the past 10 years, at least scoring-wise, not player, because that goes to LeBron James. So he's not going to be scoring 35. So 35, 15, and 3, that's ridiculous, and that's not ignorance. He's not the second coming of God, but let's talk about him. Draft fits. You have to talk about injuries with him because he's a 7'3" center. Yeah, so barring injury, he might be the best player in this draft. You know what? Maybe we shouldn't be talking about injuries because we don't know what's going to happen. But
except in the case of the Porter family. where we know that their ACLs and
It's
MCLs
hereditary.
are made of paper mache.
Yeah, but
I told you
And
guys
he
that.
called that, and I didn't want to give credit.
You were all like, well, Ricky, you can't do that. I told you so.
well, it was just because you brought it up 14 times. Like, we got it.
Medicine.
Michael hasn't gotten hurt again yet. He hasn't played, but he hasn't gotten hurt. Jonte, different story.
But also back, not ACL.
All right, Bol Bol. I think the thing, though, is like you have to talk about Bol Bol with his injuries because he's a 7-foot center who's getting injured. Yeah. You have to talk about Kristaps Porzingis now because of with his injuries because of his injury history at 7'3". He just tore his ACL. We don't know how 7-footers come back off torn ACLs. You got to look at Greg Oden. Greg Oden was a 7-foot center. He was not good because of his injury history. If Bol Bol has an injury history, he's not going to be good, and he's not going to be as valuable to your team who's drafting, who's trying to change your franchise because of this injury history. If you're looking at the Wizards, well, the Wizards are dealing with a franchise player right now in John Wall who's injured constantly. So you need to at least take that into effect, that you're not going to just be drafting a guy and wasting that pick and hurting Bradley Beal's teammates and his chances to produce and be a lifetime Wizard that he said he wants to be. If you're looking at the Grizzlies, you're trying to find a corner piece to put next to Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, Bol Bol and Bruno. But putting him next to Jaren Jackson Jr., Bol Bol, if he's going to be injured, and clearly that might not be the best fit, clearly, but if we're just talking about the future, you're not going to be drafting a guy, whether that's him or Darius Garland, that's going to possibly have these major injury concerns. Being over 7 feet tall already puts you at a high injury risk, and already injuring yourself in college is something that is a red flag. Now, if we're talking strictly based on production and on his play style, what are some of the best fits for him team-wise that you feel that are out there, Dave?
Team-wise, like no injury concerns, he would be a top 5 pick. Like,
so like, what's the first team to pull on him? Like if he's entering the draft,
if his medicals
he clears his medicals
completely.
I'm still in the camp of if he clears his medicals, I'm still very concerned about him because of his height, because of his past injury, history.
If the Hawks have the double pick, I'm taking him with the second one.
Okay, so that'd be the first one you take.
Absolutely.
If they have 5 and 6,
you got 2 first-round picks. If they stick at 5-6, or as long as they maintain that Mavs pick, then I'm absolutely taking him.
5-6, I'll take him at 5
it
just
doesn't
to
matter.
be different.
It doesn't even matter for me because I understand John Collins is a 2010 monster, and there's not a ton around what Bol Bol can do playing purely at the 5 at the NBA level because he is so slender. But I think that there's just something about that talent that you're going to take it fit be damned because just the upside of having someone who can shoot that well at that size, why would you pass that on?
That was going to be the one thing I bring up because you brought this up in the past, but I believe I had him going to the Hawks before, was the fact that the fit of him and John Collins together is not good.
It doesn't seem good in my head. I could be wrong, but it just
because Collins isn't great defensively,
it's awful.
And Bol Bol, he can protect the rim. I mean, he was averaging 3 blocks a game in college, which is impressive. It was only in 9 games, but still, I feel like that could have been something.
And he's got a 7'9" wingspan, I think. So
I still feel like his blocks will be able to carry through the season, at least in the college season. But I think that at least defensively, that'd be a poor fit down low.
Could be.
But again, I think I would agree with you. If he didn't have these injury history, I mean, I had him when he was fully healthy in my top 5. He'd be a top 5 pick for sure. If the Hawks have those 2 bullets, you got to take one of them as Bol Bol. But he does have that injury history. Ricky, where would you put him, at least in your mind? Are you still with Dave? Like, the highest he can go if he clears his medicals is at the Hawks as well?
Of course. And the reason why the thing I love the Hawks the most is there's an article from a while ago from Soaring Down South, which is the Hawks fan-sided site. And they kind of went through like their 3 reasons for why Bol Bol would be such a great fit. The first 2 are just his play, where one's defensive, like his shot blocking ability and his defensive ability around the rim. Then you also have his offensive versatility. He's not the traditional big man of stick him down low, which might be good injury-wise because he's not going to be down there kind of banging offensively all the time with bigger players. He can step out, shoot from beyond the arc as well. Well, that squirrel kind of jumped, kind of got me off guard. The last one I love the best. The Hawks are in no rush. Even if he needs like a Michael Porter Jr. of like take the year to continue to rehab, they could do it.
We're saying healthy.
Well, healthy, right, for sure. But even if he's not healthy, I'd still think about taking him with that second pick. Because they're in no rush. The Hawks are in no rush to win right away. Well, so, like, why not take him? Because if you have the 2 picks, why not take him if you think he's going to
as far as
become
upside
healthy.
in
the
this
biggest
draft,
thing is
like how many guys have higher upside than him?
They don't, but I think that he also has one of the lower floors.
Oh, absolutely.
Just
he
because
got
of
the league in 3 years.
Yeah, and because he's not going to be able to play 30 minutes a game. He's going to be playing like 20.
We don't
20
know that.
to 23.
We don't know that. We don't know if he's going to be Boban-esque and he's just going to be a matchup nightmare for some teams.
Yeah, because
really
he played
abuse them.
30 in college, but he was going up against much smaller guys.
I don't think there's any reason to cap his minutes right now. I think that he can come in the NBA if he clears out medically at the combine and he's good to go. Lots of assumptions, I understand. I don't think there's any reason why on a bad Hawks team, and I'm saying bad, they could be a playoff team in the East next year, but like I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be playing like 25 minutes a night. In that 25 to 30 range, I think is completely normal in my mind for him. It's just, where does his shooting continue to stay at that 3-point level as he adds volume to it? Obviously it's not going to be 54%?
52.
52%?
52 on three attempts a game.
Jesus Christ.
He was 13 of 25.
Yeah. I mean, it's low volume, but still. I'd love to see, if he can stay a 40% shooter from 3 at the NBA level, taking over 3 a game, yeah, he's just money. He's just money.
So I'm going to throw this out here just because it's funny.
Yeah.
This is why Reddit wins the internet most days.
Yep.
Comment number 1. And after that, fuck it. Have Orlando draft him and play full lineup of 7-footers. The first response, oh my God, imagine the lineup. Bol Bol, Bamba, Gordon, Isaac, Frazier.
Oh my
That'd
God.
be your lineup.
Where's Wesley and one doing that one?
Yeah. He's only 6'9". We're not taking that.
I think one thing too that at least hurts him a little bit, Bol Bol, that does worry me is the fact that he's 7'3", but when he was going up against top competition, these are the 3 teams that he played.
Yeah.
He played 3 teams that were in the tournament this year. Houston, Syracuse, and Iowa. Those games as being 7-3 or whatever it is. 7 boards, 9 boards, and 7 boards. He did put up points, 14, 26, and 23.
Which one was the Houston? Can you give me that stat?
Houston, 17 of 14 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 7 of 9 from the line, 7 boards, 3 blocks, 1 assist, no personal fouls, which is impressive, and 23 points.
It's like Houston swarms their defense, especially in the low post. So
yeah, they lost
that
that game by 4.
Yeah.
But he still had an efficient game. So I think the thing that I would look for in a team is clearly a team with 2 shots like Atlanta. If Atlanta's up there, that's going to be the first team that takes them. I think if Cleveland falls, that would be an interesting team. If he's fully healthy, let's take injuries out just because people want us to. If he's fully healthy, and let's say this is just one random thing, I think Cleveland would be a very interesting fit for them if they fell to like 6 or like 7.
Yeah,
I think that's the lowest.
That's
they
the
can
lowest
fall.
they can fall. Yeah.
If they fall to 7, I think that's going to be very interesting because there's not a player with a higher upside. You're right. At least at that spot. And I think Colin Sexton and Bol Bol would be an extremely, extremely interesting pick and roll pairing. And defensively, they're going to need to bolster around that. But I mean, Larry Nance plays decent defense. He's a very high energy guy.
Everything. Yeah.
And I think having him at the 4,
contract.
K Love, he might get traded. So I think one thing though that I think it would just be very interesting to see those 2 next to each other because that's just very high potential. And it would take scoring loads off of Colin Sexton. The defense might not be great, but I just see Colin Sexton's speed,
you got
Bol Bol's
TT
size.
to hold down the low post still. It's not the worst thing in the world. I think if Cleveland falls, I'm looking at 6 through or the 5 through 10 range, I guess technically. Like every one of those teams, like the Grizzlies, matchup wise, I agree with you. I don't love that if trying to put him next to Jaren Jackson Jr.
If we're talking about injured players, it's Garland over Bol Bol in my mind for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think he would absolutely fit their needs going forward. Wizards, you made the concerns about John Wall clear, but I just don't give a damn. Like that's a team where I'm like, this one in my head when I set the person, I was like, I feel like an asshole, but I'm like, I think this actually might work for them.
And then I did it in the mock draft, and you're like, oh shit, this could actually work for them.
I convinced you, and then you reconvinced me to be like, maybe I should have done that.
Health out of it, yes, I think it's a very good fit.
Yeah,
but it's just the fact that if you have the guy you paid $47 million when he's 32 years old out right now, the last thing you want to do is draft a number 1 overall pick and him get hurt again.
Yep.
I mean, this team just consistently gets setback after setback. And you want to keep Bradley Beal healthy. I mean, the guy's saying he wants to die in a Wizards uniform. Well, at least let him die happy. So I think drafting Bol Bol and then you're fucking up you're taking 2 Oregon guys back to back. Troy Brown's not even playing, and then if Bol Bol gets injured,
now he is. He's actually getting minutes.
Oh wow, it took him 75 games.
Yeah, it did.
But that's the thing with Bol Bol is like if he doesn't play right away, then you're wasting 2 draft picks. Yeah. So I think that's one thing that you have to look at.
But is it really a waste? Because, I mean...
If he doesn't play, yes. If he does not play, it's a waste.
Doesn't play ever, yeah, I guess. Any pick would be a waste. But, like...
If he plays 40 games in a season and he gets injured, it's a waste. It's a waste.
Where's your break-even point, Sean? Where's your, like...
What do you mean?
I can take him in the top 10 as the Wizards. Say it lands at 8. Take him with the Wizards at 8. Like, how many games does he have to play? How many minutes a game? Like, because I feel like for
in
you,
a season?
Yeah, I feel like for you, there's this magical line in your head somewhere. You're like, it's a waste if you take him at this point. Like, at number 8, like if he gives me 60 games,
the biggest
and
thing
24 minutes a game,
it depends on why you're not playing him. If you're playing him because you're wanting to ease him back in from injury and make sure he's not going to get injured, and he plays like 60 games at like 23 minutes, and he doesn't have an injury flare up, and those games are all of rest, or like he has like some like minor thing, like he got sick, or tweaked
sneezed
something
real hard.
Yeah, like if he plays like
if
he plays like 60 games, 55 games, and it's just because of rest, and they want to make sure he's maintained
way more
throughout
than
the
Troy
season.
Brown played this year.
Yeah, I think that'd be a fantastic pick. But it's not really about what he does right away as a freshman. It's going to be, can he make it to his 7th year? Can he make it to his second contract, the end of his second contract? And if he does that, he's going to be a fantastic player.
Do you think?
Or at least a very useful player. Because at that point, he's at least making it that far. My biggest concern is that he reaches year 3 and he's like Kristaps Porzingis, where Kristaps is phenomenal. Like I'm not saying like he has the same career as Kristaps, where Kristaps is averaging 22 and 4 blocks. I'm saying he makes it to year 3 and he tears his ACL and he's not playing. He misses a whole year after that. Like I'm just concerned about him getting injured and consistently being injured and not being able to be out there, where we're always imagining and wonder, what could have Bol Bol been? What could have Kristaps been if they stayed healthy? Because those type of players just give me so much concern, because it's not because they're not talented. Yep. Greg Oden was extremely talented. He wouldn't because of Kevin Durant, because yes, some people had the skinny worries about him, but Kevin Durant put up 28 fucking points in college.
Kevin Durant was a pure shooter. He's a shooting guard who happened to be 7 feet tall.
Yeah, people didn't realize what the NBA was going to become, and Kevin Durant's clearly a great fit for that.
But Greg Oden had that initial success on that Blazers team, where I think they were like on pace for like 60 plus wins for the seasons he played. It was like, no, he's legitimately good. He just his body gave up on him. Yeah. But he was a frame. There's a different frame he's built on as well. You have to admit that Bol Bol is a slender frame. His arms and legs are much skinnier. He carries a lot of it through his core, which could be good for him. It's just the question of the knees and the ankles. Like you said, it's just, foot problem, ankle problem, knee problem. That is, and then the back. I think his core is solid. I'm not worried about his back as much as the other big men who really carry a lot of upper body weight.
And we see accidents happen. I mean, he's not going to be like Yusuf Nurkic, like jumping high up and then falling down. I think Bol Bol's going to stay. Bol Bol's not a flyer. You know what I'm saying?
Watching Nurkic's injury, Ricky.
I wasn't gonna watch it, and then you said the leg snap, and I was like,
shut up. But
once I saw the words Mike picked it up, my brain was like, well, I got it.
My thing is just like, I feel like the worst thing that could happen is just like something that happens in a basketball game, where let's say Joel Embiid goes up, slams one home over Bol Bol, comes down and accidentally lands on his foot, shatters his foot. Well, there's a season loss for Bol Bol. And I think that can happen. That's his injury risk of just normal basketball injuries are already increased
than any other center in this league.
Yes. He's that much skinnier. He's that much smaller.
He's 240, I thought.
It's not about the actual pounds. It's we were talking about he's carrying in his core. And the place that's going to hurt your career the most for a big man is not, I tore my shoulder. Like, no, it's the legs. And we're saying the biggest injury risk for Bol Bol are his legs automatically coming in. And yes, he can add on weight. He totally can. Maybe. But let's look at his father. We're looking at just straight genetics. I don't know much about genetics. I am not a doctor, shockingly. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even an NBA draft analyst, right? I'm not an expert.
Look, Mom,
that's
an
not
NBA
me.
Draft analyst.
That's not me.
Yeah.
But I can at least make the assumption that Bol Bol might be a little bit bigger than his father because of modern NBA day training, and they know so much more about bodies. But I also think Manute just didn't have the ability to put on weight and keep it up because just his body was so thin and it had to work so much harder to do anything that was just out of the normal. Like, for 7-footers, like it's tough for them to go daily. So how is he going to play 82 games? And the fact that
he's been healthy up to this point in his career. You have to give him credit. Like, he's not a guy who's had like Harry Giles-esque injuries since high school.
No,
since
but
middle
he's
school.
also plays a different game than
No,
Harry
I'm
Giles.
just saying,
Harry Giles
like,
was so athletic, jumping 37
so his
inches of the field.
So his game doesn't mean that he is going to have those explosive injury blowouts. Of
my thing is not offensively; it's defensively.
Oh,
that's going to be scaring me. Is defensively, that's where he's going to get hurt. He can be a pick and pop monster.
Yeah,
he could be in the low post and face up. I don't think he's going to be doing a lot of post moves because I think he's going to be able to get his shot contested a ton. I think he could be a 7-footer that shoots like 60 to like 55% around the rim. Just because of his size. I think he might get pushed around a lot. But I think one thing, though, is just like when he's playing defense, he's in the low post, he's getting driven on. Like, if he gets crossed over, he might twist his ankle. Like, I'm just concerned about just daily, like, small things we might overlook, just hurting and killing his career just because of his lack of size when it comes to his legs.
All right, so Wizards, you'd probably be in for him, though. If he goes into the combine and individual team workouts, and he's able to move laterally, like you're pretty much in on him there, right then? Or do you think that's still too much of a risk? If you don't know the future, he very well could get injured the very next day, but he goes into those workouts and he looks like he can move laterally. His shot's still there. That didn't change at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to have a 40-inch vert.
His shot is not perfect. His form is very low. He shoots like near his chin.
Which is still at like 6'10".
Yes, but it's still when you're going up against NBA guards and not San Diego University.
I'm sorry, hang on. 6'11".
I know,
he's
but
7'3".
I'm saying like
I get you.
A lot of his 3-point shots were uncontested, trailing threes, or he was just coming up top of the key and he was shooting like literally the ball's like here by his chin. That's a concern when you're going up against NBA level defensemen. If he's going up against a Brandon Clark's going to stuff that shit. Like Brandon Clark with his vertical, with his wingspan, he's going to stuff that shit. So like that's one thing where it's just like I am worried about his initial his initial acclimation to the NBA, and then also how he's going to physically play in the NBA. I do worry about that, and that's the biggest thing. His upside is phenomenal. It is. It's crazy. If he gains weight, if he adds it on, he could be a rim protector that blocks 3 shots a game and shoots 45% from 3 and scores 20 points a game and grabs 15 boards. Like he can be an absolute monster.
Could you
but
imagine
I worry about the floor of him.
Him next to Anthony Davis if Anthony Davis doesn't get traded next year. Come on. Like, you can't tell me that doesn't get you excited. Well, like Anthony Davis is one of the best defenders of all time. Like coming out of college, he was incredible. Yeah. NBA, he's been nothing short of phenomenal. And adding in a floor spacer of the like of Bol Bol
with the defense,
I'll one up you.
With basically, you just got 2 guys who can just do this and block all of the shots within 8 feet of the net.
I'll one up you. L.A. LeBron.
I was going to bring it up.
Come on.
I was totally going to bring it up.
What does
Lakers.
LeBron need around him?
Oh, no.
What does LeBron need around him?
Spacing.
Shooters.
No.
Shooters.
But
who's shooting 52% from 3?
But not
Bol
even
Bol.
that. I was sitting here waiting in the wings. Dave, look at it here. Whose spot rack do I have pulled up?
You got the Lakers.
The Lakers. I was sitting here waiting in the wings, waiting for you guys to just do your thing.
Yeah.
And then I dropped this Laker bomb on you. You beat me to the punch there. But, like, not just that, not just the shooting thing, but let's just say the Pelicans are not going to trade Anthony Davis to the Lakers. They're not. Yeah. They're just not. And for me then, if you're going to go out and get free agents for LeBron, how many of them are centers? 0? You're going to be targeting
Vucevic.
Okay. I don't think they're going to like the big free agents they're getting.
We gave him up. We made a mistake. We want him back. What?
The big free agents are, I'm looking at like Kawhis. I'm looking at those guys. None of them are centers.
DeMarcus.
Why not draft DeMarcus, but if you're going to...
He's the biggest one.
I would say that he is not 1-2 on their list. He is just outside of that.
I wouldn't argue.
And if they're getting the guys that they want, Bol Bol would be a nice fit there defensively and a shooter for LeBron at the 5.
Not defensively. He'd be bad defensively as a 5. I mean, his best position probably is a 4 in the NBA.
I mean, defensively 4 or 5, I think he'll be fine. Right. I have no questions.
Why do you think he's going to be fine defensively as a 5? He's too small.
Because I don't. Bol Bol?
He's too thin. Too small.
I don't.
He's 7'3", 240 pounds.
How you put up
LeBron
the
James is 6'9"
size
and
thing,
bigger
like
260.
Go look at Joel Embiid when he was in college. Like the kid put on weight.
But there are body transformations.
Okay, but here's
Sean's argument.
I know the genetic thing,
but
we'll see. Science is different now too than when Manute was in the NBA.
It's completely different though because
like now these guys have dietitians and stuff like that. Like even look at like
he's going to work out. Unlike
Mo Bamba was even talking about it last year when he declared.
A big thing too is Joel came here when he was 16 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So he didn't have the lifelong, lifespan here in the U.S. as Bol Bol has. So immediately we know more about from the birth. I mean, we knew Bol Bol was going to be a basketball player, so they were probably already putting him in camp since the age of 9. So that's why he was so much skilled.
Yeah.
And one thing too about Joel, like just look at Joel's arms when he was in Kansas. Like he still had massive arms, and he still had freakishly long hands. Like he was small, and he wasn't the Joel Embiid freak that he is now. Yeah. But Joel was still built. Joel still had you could see the frame of him. Where Bol Bol is just skinny. Like Bol Bol is just rail thin with his arms, and he's rail thin with his legs. Joe didn't have the same time to build up those muscles, and then he had that whole year off where he did have the time to build up that muscle. So that was the big thing with Joe, that he had a very unique circumstance where he had a very short time in the USA to actually use our weight programs and build up. Yep. And then he had that whole season where it was pretty much dedicated to working on a shot and getting bigger. Bol Bol, we're assuming that he's going to step in right away and just play basketball games. And I feel like if he's doing a weight program, let's say on Tuesday, and he has a game on Wednesday, he's going to be able to he might get thinner and leaner, but we don't want him to get leaner. Because he's going to be using a ton of cardio through those games and then doing weightlifting, so he's going to make everything tighter. I mean, this is just human, phonetics. He might look more ripped, but that doesn't mean he's going to get bigger. He needs to add weight, and that's it.
He needs to collect mass. Yeah,
there's
he
about
needs to Mac from,
and it's going to be tough during the NBA season, and it's going to be tough. With a foot injury to start lifting. I don't know where he is right now in his program, but it's going to be tough for him to be where Joel is, because they have completely different body types. We can already base Bol Bol's body type off of his father's. That's going to be near similar. He grew up to be near the same height. Yep. I think he's bigger than his father right now. I don't think his dad was that big. But I just worry about his actual base. I don't think that he had the same base college-wise that
Manute was 7'7".
That Joe did. It's 4 inches smaller, but I'm saying size, mass-wise.
Got it.
I think Manute was smaller that wise.
Entirely possible.
I don't know. I'm looking at a picture of Manute.
He was 201.
It looks exactly like Bol Bol.
Yeah, it's like they look.
Manute was 201 pounds.
They look exactly the same.
Yeah. So and Bol Bol is 240. But I mean, look at those arms. Like, does that not look like Bol Bol?
Yeah.
And Manute's not big. Like, and I don't think that's. I think that was just genetics. Like Bol Bol was, or Manute was a little.
Like, I'm not saying Bol Bol is gonna have a just complete transformation, but the thing I do kind of lean into is the type of NBA it is. Like, I go back even to Mo Bamba last year when he declared of how he was talking about not just working on his shot, but he's like the whole the dietitians that these guys hire to kind of make a plan for them. And if Bol Bol is smart, hey, I'm going to have this person that I'm hiring and paying to build me out this plan to make sure that I am healthy, that I'm going to add the weight in the right areas at the right way. And if you're worried about that cardio leaning it out, hey, how do we change this diet program to make sure that doesn't happen?
I just think that there is the possibility that is not add on weight, and he's different than his dad. The fact that he's at the size that he is right now is huge. I think it also helps that he's not 7'7". His dad was Guinness Book of World Records. He was 7 feet, and it's like 6 3/4 feet tall.
Mean, Yao Ming was so much more physically built up and taller.
Yeah.
So once you get a certain size, you're no longer practically in the NBA.
When Manute arrived in the USA, he was 180 pounds and gained just under 20 by the time he entered the NBA. The Bullets sent him to University of Maryland strength coach Frank Costello, where he initially only lift 44 pounds on a 10 repetition bench press and 55 pounds on a 10 repetition squat. His BMI was 15.3 and initially had a 31-inch waist. I have a 33.
Yep.
So the Manute was a very rare case, but I think Bol Bol is definitely at a better starting point than his father was. Yeah. But I think there are concerns that he's never going to be the Joel Embiid size. Joel is ripped. I don't think he's ever going to be that size, and that concerns me. But at least let's get to the fit part, because we keep getting.
That's what I was trying to do.
My bad. Best fits: Atlanta, Washington. You're saying New Orleans, Dave. Ricky, you're saying Lakers.
Hilarious.
Any other ones that stick out there?
The T-Wolves
what place
would be
does he not? I think that'd be horrible.
No, I don't think it'd be horrible.
I don't think he. Go ahead.
It wouldn't be like I just look at the T-Wolves too of as a team also of you already have Cat there, so you don't have to rely on him as much as you would if guarding fives and playing defense against the fives is what bothers you the most.
Yeah, but Cat sucks.
Cat doesn't do either of those already.
Cat's bad defensively.
There's help there is what I'm saying. There's two. It's not Anthony Davis levels of dominance, but there's help there. Plus, the T-Wolves are also, to me, kind of like the Hawks in a sense of if it takes a couple years, we're fine with that. We're not going to compete right away next year, even more so because they're in the West with a ton of stacked teams in that conference. I almost said division, but conference.
I don't know that I agree with you there because of their contract situation. Because Cat is getting the max soon, they're already paying Wiggins the max. They've got so much tied up in contracts that I think that they are, fast approaching that we need to have people contributing pretty quickly, and we need to actually be having results for all this money we're wasting, basically.
Yeah, Cat's contract extension kicks in next year. He's going to be making $27.25, and then he's going to make 29, 31, 33, 35. As a 27-year-old. So, I mean, that's going to be something that ages that
so they've got two maxes on their team.
Yeah, and Wiggins, there's a video about him being the worst shooter in the NBA, and it's not too far off. He just kicked off his 4-year, 147 extension. He's getting paid 25, 27, 29, 31, 33. And that's going to be all the way until 2022, 2023. So that's a massive concern right there. So I feel like they do need to hit, and I feel like Brandon Clark would be a much better fit. He's better defensively, and you already have an offensive machine in Karl Anthony Towns. So I would say just keep feeding the ball to Cat. Don't change up anything about the offense besides give Wiggins the ball less.
Unless you're against the Thunder.
He
just wrecks them.
But I would say that Minnesota, personally, I don't find it to be a good fit because defensively, I think you need a stronger anchor than Karl Anthony Towns. That's why a team with Anthony Davis would be much more appealing to me. Or I feel like you just don't put him with maybe Jaren Jackson would make sense, but Mike Conley, Jaren Jackson, Bol Bol would be crazy. But I think that you need to find somebody with an offensive monster. And if the Orlando Magic didn't have Aaron Gordon and they didn't have Jonathan Isaac, I would love to see Mo Bamba and Bol Bol play next to each other. That would be extremely fun.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right.
I think he just doesn't fall past 15. I think his range is 5 to 15. I think the best fit for him would probably to just land in a team where he doesn't need to contribute right away, a team that has a lot of veteran leadership, and a team that can, at least put some defensive guys out there who can play physically out there, and that'd be Boston. Boston can play physically with Al Horford. They can play physically with Aaron Baines. They can play physically with Morris if he re-signs. Probably going to be unlikely that he does. But they can play physical with him. Jaylen Brown can also play physical as well, guarding wings. I think Bol Bol would probably be best fit and best suited to go 14 to Boston.
And just like Atlanta, they have a ton of picks to say, you know, we'll use one on him.
Yeah, what happens if Memphis pick falls down past their protected 8th slot, and you got the Celtics at 9 going, well, been fun. Yeah. I'm going to take Bol Bol at 9.
100%.
And just totally mess up. That would mess with everything because that means they still have more picks later in this draft. They've got the capital. They've got the chance to take a chance.
And make the playoffs with or without him. It's kind of like the Nuggets thing. They could take Michael Porter Jr. because they're playing with house money. Final thoughts on Bol Bol and best fits. What's the biggest glaring one that you think? I think it's Boston.
The biggest best fit.
Yeah, take away the Hawks. Take away picks.
To me, the Hawks. I just like what he brings to that team with John Collins being there. I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue as you think. And he can really help that Hawks team. And it's not something that rushes their timeline. It kind of fits their timeline because they're not looking to compete for a title next year.
If Anthony Davis isn't getting traded,
yes,
I want him on the Pelicans.
Just say the Pelicans.
But
what if?
Yeah.
What if Boston doesn't use the 14th pick? They keep that Sacramento pick, and they trade Jason Tatum away. They get Anthony Davis, and they take Bol Bol.
Then yes,
Bol Bol.
There you go. That's the best fit for them is just get Anthony Davis and then take Bol Bol. Take the big guy.
I want them together on the NBA court. Make it happen, NBA.
I want to make it clear, though, that I am rooting for him.
Yeah.
It would be extremely fun for him to see.
Every time we talk about him, Sean's got to be on the negative side.
Because I feel like everyone, it's kind of like, let's look at the YouTube comments. Someone's calling him God. Someone's saying that he can get 35, 15, and 3. That he's going to be this offensive machine, no doubt, right away. He's a top 5 pick. You have to take in these injury concerns.
Is there a reason why he is so much better than Darius Garland, a guy who played a couple less games than him, but offensively you don't hear the same stuff about Darius Garland. I get it. Darius Garland's not 7'3", but Darius Garland was an incredibly productive guard, instant offense, just deadly, great handles. There's a lot to love there, but people aren't getting as upset about that. I don't know.
Well, I feel
like
upset. What do you mean upset?
Like that we don't have him, 5 or 4. I think.
Well, I think because Bol Bol is it's easy to fall in love with him.
Yeah,
he's 7'3" and can shoot 52% from 3.
Yeah,
he's a fun player to watch. I mean, that was one thing that Ladyboy Lever said was that once Bol Bol went down was that the fact that his engagement in the college season went down.
He's
a fun player to watch.
It's kind of like Mo Bamba from last year. Mo Bamba was easy to fall in love with last year.
Yeah, now he can't get on the court.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's the big thing for Bol Bol is that it's tough to fall in love with. And you also saw him more. Garland played 2 games, 3 games.
5, yeah.
So it was tough to see him out there. And Bol Bol has been on the radar forever. I mean, Bol Bol was, I think, top 10 high school recruit. And Garland, I think, was 15, 16, something like that. And he was a guy that just
we've known about Bol Bol for longer.
Exactly. He's coming from Manute Bolt's he's coming from he's coming from Manute Bolt's tree, and I think people even Manute Bolt wasn't like a stud in the NBA. He wasn't an MVP. He wasn't anything like that. But you knew Manute Bolt right away because he's the largest player, tallest player to ever play in the NBA. So I think that's a reason why people just like Bol Bol so much. And I'm genuinely rooting for him. I hope he does pan out. You're just laughing because I said he was going to come from Manute Bolt's seed.
I thought you were going to say something on those lines.
Dave's a child. Let us know your thoughts on Bol Bol down in the comments below. We do appreciate all your feedback, whether it's negative, positive. We want to hear you guys' opinions because that's what this is all about. We're not experts. We're not 100% right.
We're just guys who like talking about basketball.
Yeah, and we talked about it for over
2 hours.
This is 40 minutes. The other one was 45. The first one was an hour 11, so it's been a while.
We're just becoming a 2 to 3 hour podcast.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's going to do it, though. For Dave Oster, for Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostofpodcast.
And April 2nd.
We're updating our stuff on April 2nd. I got you. And check out iTunes as well. Please rate us 5 stars. If you have the opportunity to, head over, search The Fast Break, and rate us 5 stars. But for Dave, Ricky, I'm Sean. We'll see you next time.